A lack of energy is perceived by a person as second nature. What is second nature? It's when a person believes their state is their fate, but in fact it's just a lack of energy. Imagine someone forgetting they need to eat. They assume being hungry and having shaky hands is their fate. In truth, fate has nothing to do with it. They simply lack energy. This is genuinely a significant problem. For example, a woman believes she can't live with anyone. She starts a relationship, but after just a few days, she can't stand the man. She finds him repulsive. Intimacy is an issue. This is simply a lack of water energy. A lack of water energy affects her personal life so severely that she's 100% convinced she can't live with anyone. She's certain it's her fate, but in reality, it's just a lack of water energy. This can be resolved. Over time, she may find herself able to live with someone, though she will always remain sensitive. The tendency to feel tired around people might persist, but this fatigue will no longer push her to end relationships, break up, or isolate herself. Or take someone who smokes. They say, "It's just my nature, I have to smoke." In truth, they lack air energy. Someone else might claim, "I can't live without alcohol." This is because they feel despair. If they were to spend time in water, the despair would dissipate, and they could live without alcohol. Someone says, "I have to use drugs." This is because you lack solar energy. Another person says, "I'm naturally weak-willed." No, you lack air energy. Start replenishing it, and you will develop willpower. Someone says, "Dr. Torsunov, I can't finish tasks. I always start but never complete them." This happens because you lack air energy. You begin something, use up your resources, and run out of air energy. When the gas runs out, the car stops. Without sufficient air energy, you can't finish what you start.
What if I crave coffee? I run for 2 hours, but I felt so embarrassed. I was the only one who asked for coffee.
Why coffee? Because you experience a severe fright in your life. That fright hasn't passed, leaving you with deep indecisiveness and a tendency toward depletion of air energy. Running for 2 hours has already greatly improved your condition. Your air energy deficit used to be 25%, and you were functioning like a plant. Now your willpower has started to activate. There's a phenomenon called psychic body exhaustion. Even after running for 2 hours, your psychic body is still short by about 7% in air energy. Only after a year of regular running according to a schedule will you fully restore your psychic body. The situation was very advanced and the psychic channels associated with air energy were severely depleted. You are more decisive than before, but you still doubt everything. This is a lack of air energy related to a fright you experienced around the age of 3 or 4. Do you remember it?
I was in a dark room. I went in, and I got really scared. It was a big shock.
A black cat in the dark room? Did it frighten you? That fright began draining your air energy. See the result. Even though she runs, she still cannot fully restore her psychic body, because psychic exhaustion can persist. How can you tell if you're lacking air energy? You can notice it physically. Fear of wind, stepping outside, instantly feeling cold, unable to tolerate the wind. Or you constantly doubt everything, unable to make decisions in life. Lack of air energy affects concentration. It is treated with running. Keep running. You're doing better than you were before. If you lack water energy, you fear entering water. If you get in and start shivering, that's a sign your energy cannot circulate properly. It's overloaded. The purest water energy is in an ice hole at 4, 3, or 2 degrees. If you immerse yourself in an ice hole and don't shiver, your body absorbs water energy well. When I get into an ice hole now, I feel great. It charges me up. It's like recharging my batteries. Lying on fresh snow for 7 minutes fills your subtle energy body with prana. But to get the energy circulating, you need prolonged movement. It's easy to fill up on energy, but activating it, getting the body to function, requires sustained activity. These energies cleanse themselves, for instance. If you have energy blockages, just walking in the fresh air won't fill you with air energy because the blockages prevent it from entering. Prolonged continuous movement is needed. It clears energy blockages. After a year of consistent activity according to a schedule, the blockages cleanse and the desire to live returns. You start wanting to do something. For a man, it might be work. For a woman, it could be to engage emotionally with others, to not be alone, to live with someone and experience love. Air energy cleanses the subtle energy body, allowing the person to recover. When a person practices stationary position of the body, it cleanses blockages associated with water energy. They stop being overly sensitive, vulnerable, irritable, or resentful. They might think they'll never stop feeling hurt, but everything changes. Hey, stop being resentful. Second, a person might be convinced that their blockages define them as a person. They believe this is their nature. An old woman visits a doctor and says, "My back hurts." The doctor says, "Bend forward a little." "Does it hurt less?" "Yes." "Bend a little more." "Does it not hurt now?" "Great, walk like that." A year later, the old woman returns to the doctor, still bent over, and he asks, "Why are you walking like that all the time?" She says, "That's just my nature." People adapt to their circumstances and begin to think that's who they are. But in reality, they are different. A bunny hops up to a frog and says, "Why are you so slimy and smelly?" The frog replies, "I'm just going through a tough time with my sun energy right now. Normally I'm soft and fluffy." All right, glad you can appreciate the humor. Let's move on. A daily routine is a divine creation. It's not something humans invented. The daily routine optimizes your interaction with energy so that it doesn't drain from your body and can circulate properly. When the sun rises, it triggers energetic processes in the body. If a person doesn't wake up on time, if they are still sleeping as the sun rises, their water energy begins to evaporate. As a result, they wake up irritable. When people say, "woke up on the wrong side of the bed," it means they got up after 6. A person who constantly wakes up at 8 or 9 in the morning says, "I'm naturally very irritable, especially in the morning. Don't talk to me. I don't want to interact with anyone." Why are you irritable in the morning? Because you overheated lying in bed while the sun was already up. You need to wake up by 6 in the morning. Otherwise, your water energy evaporates and you'll lash out at everyone later. If a person doesn't go to bed before 10 at night, their air energy decreases. If they go to bed at 11 p.m., they lose 5% of their air energy. At midnight, another 5% is gone. The next day, they lack willpower, strength, and focus because their air energy is depleted. Why? Because they went to bed late. Eating grains, legumes, dairy, or sweets in the evenings depletes sun energy, especially meat or fish. In the evenings, you should eat only fruits, dried fruits, greens, nuts, and non-grain cereals like buckwheat, quinoa, or amaranth. Vegetables are fine too, steamed vegetables, except for potatoes and tomatoes, which are harmful at night. There's plenty to eat, but only the right foods. If you eat dairy at night, you extinguish sun energy. The next morning, why is there no good mood? Because you extinguished the energy of the sun the night before. Eating late in the evening depletes sun energy, so there's no mood. You ate late last night, didn't you? No? You don't eat at night? Then you must have done something else to extinguish the energy of the sun last evening.
How late is late?
Heavy foods shouldn't be eaten after 6. If you eat after 6, you'll wake up in the morning without a good mood. Everything's bad. I won't go to the lecture. Dr. Torsunov will see that I woke up late. But there are exceptions. This exception was discovered by the listeners of my lectures. If Dr. Torsunov is already asleep, then it's okay to eat. Now about daily routines. When the sun is at its zenith, digestion is at its peak. When the sun is high, that's the best time to eat a full meal. In the morning you should eat a little, and in the evening as well, but eat more during the day. This maintains balance, ensures proper digestion, and everything works well. All types of energy replenishment should be done before 12 p.m. When the sun rises, it enhances replenishment processes, but as it sets, those processes diminish. If you go for a run, immerse yourself in water, practice wall standing, or fast, it's best to do these activities before noon. Fasting before lunch is the most beneficial. As the sun rises, healing processes activate, and the body begins to cleanse itself. All the best and most effective healing practices should be done before noon, or at least before 6 p.m. After 6 p.m., if you go running, do static exercises, or sit in water, the effectiveness of these practices significantly decreases. How do you initiate the process of restoring the subtle energy body? This process follows specific patterns. The primary energy that depletes the fastest from the body is water energy. Without it, absorbing other energies becomes extremely difficult and even dangerous. If a person starts running or walking long distances, their water energy gets depleted. If they already have low water energy, this can lead to inflammatory processes in the body and severe irritability. After a walk or run, if you feel ready to snap at everyone, it means your water energy is insufficient. All practices should always start with water. Everything begins with water. Without it, nothing works properly. The very first thing a person should do is sit in a pool at 28 degrees Celsius or in a bath for 70 minutes to learn and adapt. This is a full cycle for cleansing the subtle energy body and replenishing water energy, 28 degrees for 70 minutes. The lower the temperature, the faster the cleansing. For instance, 28 degrees for 70 minutes equals 4.5 minutes in 4 degrees. In just 4.5 minutes in 4-degree water, you replenish water energy 10 times more than in 28-degree water over 70 minutes. Why? Because water energy is 10 times more concentrated at 4 degrees or 3 or 2 degrees compared to 28 degrees. However, most people cannot tolerate 4-degree water because their subtle energy body cannot withstand it. Subtle energy body struggles to circulate energy at such a low temperature. How do you know if you're unable to handle ice-cold water immersion? If your legs cramp up in cold water, that's a sign your body can't handle it yet. Stop immediately. There's no point in pushing further. Over time, this sensitivity decreases, and the body gradually adapts to absorbing water energy more effectively, allowing lower temperatures to feel comfortable. Water energy is the gentlest of the three energies. The most dangerous energy is sun energy, but water energy is the most forgiving. That's why I confidently encourage my followers to immerse themselves in icy water without worrying about negative consequences. What's the worst that can happen? They might just not get out, that's all. Just kidding. Let me give you an example. We entered the Yenisei River in Irkutsk. Actually, it wasn't in Irkutsk, it was in Novosibirsk. We entered the ice-cold water with a group of 70 people. The temperature was around 11 degrees Celsius. There were elderly people and children among us, and everyone was squealing and shouting. In 11-degree water, the entire subtle energy body can be cleansed in about 15 minutes or even less, around 12 minutes. After that, everyone went to the steam room. There were several saunas, and everyone stayed in each long enough to cleanse all 5 energy layers. Later, we finished with another dip in the icy water for 1 energy layer for about 2 minutes. Everyone felt completely rejuvenated, like they were reborn. No one got sick. Why does someone get sick after cold water exposure? It's because they leave the water while still cold, with their body not fully adapted. Initially, the first 2 or 3 energy layers absorb water energy. Then the body hits a blockage. When this blockage occurs, you start shaking and think, I need to get out fast, or this will be bad. Leaving the water while the blockage persists causes complications. The kidneys, liver, or worse, can be affected. The issue is not following proper protocol. If someone stays in icy water until 5 energy layers are fully cleansed, they won't get sick. The proper technique is to stand submerged up to the chest. Standing waist deep creates a body imbalance between the upper and lower halves. Submerging up to the chest prevents imbalance. You don't need to immerse your head, as the body's immersion is enough to cleanse the head as well. So chest-deep immersion is ideal, not neck-deep, just up to the chest. The neck is a sensitive area. It's where colds can settle. You should stand in the water up to your chest. If the water is cold, place your hands behind your head, resting them on your Sahasrara chakra. This creates warmth. Water energy circulates throughout your body, including through your arms, and you don't feel cold while standing in the water. There was a festival at Isyk-Kul in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan. It's an amazing place, 1,600 meters above sea level, with extremely powerful energy. In the mountains, the energy of air gets purified just by being there. You step into the mountains, and prana begins to circulate on its own. It's incredibly potent. Isyk-Kul is a lake of mineral water, not salty water, but pure mineral water. You can drink it straight from the lake. There are also geysers, hot springs with entire pools of 42-degree water, which is very salty. We would first go into the icy water, stand there, then enter the hot water, and then return to the icy water. This process rejuvenated the body. The festival lasted 10 days, and we practiced this daily. You can come. It's a long trip, of course, but the recovery afterward is immense. The walk to the water was long, so we got on our knees. Some people were scared. It was cold. I shouted, on your knees, hands behind your head. We even have videos of me shouting and everyone kneeling, chest deep, hands behind their heads, standing there. That was an amazing experience. When people enter the water with prayer, the water becomes holy and brings spiritual benefit. Don't confuse the spiritual body with the subtle energy body. They are different. Epiphany bathing brings spiritual benefits, but we're discussing body purification. From the perspective of water energy replenishment, the practice of diving quickly into the icy water and coming out doesn't cleanse the subtle energy body. It is a toning practice. It energizes. This practice is also beneficial. Toning practices enhance resilience to stress. For example, not being startled or falling into despair. One can pour cold water over themselves. However, this doesn't restore the subtle energy body. Toning practices include sprints, running uphill, contrast showers, or standing on nails. These all boost stress resistance. But I'm talking about rejuvenation. When the psychic body is cleansed, the person begins to recover. Their organs improve in function. When I started rejuvenation practices, my lower back ached for 3.5 years. When an organ aches, it is undergoing healing. There are different types of pain. Sharp pain signals that you need to stop what you're doing, while dull, aching pain indicates healing. The body is recovering after being replenished with energy. All chronic illnesses stem from a lack of energy. When energy is insufficient, the physical body weakens and illness sets in. For example, if the stomach is weak and you eat something spicy, it can't handle it, leading to inflammation or burns in the stomach lining. But if your stomach has sufficient energy, it won't get inflamed. It will cope with the stress. All chronic diseases develop the same way. First, the psychic body in a specific area becomes depleted, which leads to a lack of energy in the physical body. The organ weakens and can no longer function properly in daily life. For example, if the liver is weak, it can't process food efficiently. Weak knees hurt after walking. A chronic condition means that the body doesn't have enough strength to repair the organ, and the body periodically heals its organs. For example, when it's time for your knee to heal, it starts aching. If you don't engage in prolonged, continuous movement, this can develop into a chronic condition. It's like starting renovations at home with no money to finish, leaving the place in constant disarray. Your house remains half destroyed because you started repairs but didn't complete them. It's the same with the body, no difference at all. Doctors often say, if you're sick, lie down, don't open the window, stay out of the sun, don't go near water, lie down with your arms folded, light a candle, close your eyes, and wait. What are you waiting for? For funeral music, right? Pam pam param. Only movement means life, fresh air means life. Resting for a short time is fine. But if you want to heal, you need prolonged continuous movement, water, static exercises, and fasting. You can't recover from any illness without these. It all begins with water. If done correctly, water will never harm you. Even if the water is very cold, people may scream and yell, but if you're not experiencing cramps, nothing bad will happen. If you stand in the water long enough to clear all 5 layers, and the water is below 25 degrees, you must warm up afterward. If you're cold, warm yourself up. Water below 25 degrees cools the physical body. The subtle energy body thrives on water. It rejuvenates and restores, but the physical body feels cold. Warm it up, go into a steam room, or take a hot shower. Once the physical body is warm, that's it. What happens in the subtle energy body after being in water? Calmness, you feel at peace. You come out of the water, stand there and think, I'm not going to America, I'll stay in Latvia. Can you imagine the money saved? Just by standing in water, you no longer feel the need to move to America. It's amazing. Try it yourself and you'll see how it works. You return the ticket and everything is fine.
The water temperature drops if you stay in too long.
You need to heat it up. Use a thermometer and slightly adjust the heat to maintain a constant temperature. Otherwise, you won't know how long to stay there. When the program is ready, the watch will measure the temperature and tell you how long you need to cleanse. It's real. I can bring it to the next lecture. Ihor, are you here? Could you bring it over? I'll demonstrate the program. Let him bring the watch. The program shows how the layers are cleansed. It works during movement and in water. We'll make it work for the steam room too. You'll enter the steam room, measure the temperature and humidity, activate the watch, and it will show how your subtle energy body is cleansing. Step outside into the sun. If there are no clouds, the sun will start cleansing. Identify your location. Say Vilnius. Turn it on. Nothing cleanses because there's no sun. Jokes aside, even with strong sunlight here, the cleansing effect is weak. Give me the watch, I'll show the program.
I don't have it.
Maybe you have it? Static exercises are also tracked by the watch, showing how much cleansing you've achieved. The program will guide you on what to do next and how to proceed. If you skip certain cleanses and focus on others, it might tell you, hemorrhoids are coming, don't proceed. There's a sequence to follow. First, you should learn to sit in 28-degree water for 70 minutes once a week. For most people, that's enough. Don't get out of the water. Sit, swim, stand, do whatever you like, but don't leave the water. If you start shivering, wait it out, endure it. Don't be afraid, nothing bad will happen.
What if I was sitting in warm water?
After 28-degree water, there's no need to warm up. That depends on the individual.
Can I swim every day?
Yes, you can. You have a significant deficiency of water energy. Daily swimming would be very beneficial for you. Some people lose water energy rapidly and need to sit in the water daily for 5 energy layers to feel great. If they don't, it can lead to conditions like diabetes, asthma, autoimmune diseases. Anything could develop. I lose water energy quickly myself. I need to sit in water at least twice a week. When I travel, I try to do it even more often. At the Svetgrivas festival in Latvia, we sat in the water every day. It was fine, no issues at all.
Should I learn to love cold water and do ice swimming?
We'll study all of this together. Don't rush. It's not about ice swimming, but more like seal bathing. I'll explain now. When we were in Moscow, about 40 of us went into the water. We were sitting there, and the caretaker of the ice hole came out shouting, "You can't stay in there for so long. Ice swimmers dive in and jump out immediately." We replied, "We're not ice swimmers, we're seals. Diving in and jumping out is harmful to your health. You should stay in water below 4 degrees Celsius for 4.5 minutes. Above 4 degrees, the duration increases. At 5 degrees, it's already 5.5 minutes. At 6 degrees, 6 minutes. At 7 degrees, 7 to 8 minutes, and so on. The higher the temperature, the longer you should stay in. The program will include all this. You won't need to figure anything out. Dip your hand in the water, and the watch will automatically start showing the cleansing process and temperature. Install the app on your Apple Watch, and you're all set. While you run, it tracks the cleansing process. The program is operational, and we're testing it now.
What can you say about chlorine?
Chlorine is a chemical. There's water, there's energy, and then there are chemicals. Anything naturally derived is highly beneficial. Yesterday we visited a fantastic place. I won't say where it is to avoid creating a frenzy. It was a small lake, about 10 square meters wide, a tiny lake. When you step in, your feet sink up to your knees. As they sink, hydrogen sulfide bubbles rise, filling the water. Remember, when the sun, earth, and water combine, healing muds are created. These never harm your health. We entered the place, reeked of hydrogen sulfide, stood there for 40 minutes, and then slept like logs afterward. Hydrogen sulfide baths relax the subtle energy body, making a person feel calm. The sensations weren't great because it's muddy water. Standing in dirty water isn't pleasant, but it turned out to be therapeutic.
Didn't leeches bite you?
We'd just gotten off the plane and weren't appetizing. The leeches didn't bother engaging with us. They were asleep. It was midnight. They probably thought, what kind of weirdos get into the water at midnight? We scared off all the carps too. All water is healing. When the sun, water, and earth combine, they create healing energy. Different healing muds address different conditions. If chlorine is added, the water itself can corrode the body, but water energy remains intact. Air also has energy. When you go out into the fresh air, the prana remains the same. Exhaust fumes may harm your lungs, but the energy remains unaltered. Don't confuse these things. Energy and chemicals are entirely different.
What if my body feels like it doesn't want to stay in the water?
The body has mechanisms for everything. If you're sitting in 28-degree water and feel like you can't stay longer, you can leave. 28-degree water won't harm you. However, if you jump straight into an ice hole and exit too early, or submerge in 15-degree water, problems may arise. If you get into 28-degree water and leave early, it's not a big deal. I say start with 28 degrees. This water is not hot, but it's also not cold. That's why most pools are set to 28 degrees. When you enter this water, you don't feel very cold. Circulation isn't intense, but healing begins. If you can't handle 70 minutes, that's okay. Stay as long as you can, but gradually increase the time. If you standardize at 40 minutes, 3 layers get cleansed, but after 6 months, there will be an imbalance. The first 3 energy layers will be well cleansed, but the remaining layers will suffer. The physical body gets filled with water energy. 28 degrees for 70 minutes or less once a week. If you feel it's not enough, do it twice a week. After about a month, you'll notice a need for water energy because the self-recovery mechanism will activate. Most people don't even realize they're depleted because they're used to living that way. When you start going to the pool, the time will come when you think, damn, I didn't go to the pool and I don't feel good. I need to go to the pool. This means your body is already relying on that energy and wants to receive it. This is good news because it means your self-preservation processes have been activated. Or if you feel like running, your body is demanding a jog. That's another sign your self-preservation processes are working. Or your body may demand fasting. I currently fast for 36 hours every 2 weeks, consistently on schedule. My body demands it. Now we'll have the chance to test the watch. It says dip your hand into the water and measure the temperature. It shows 16 degrees. Cleansing has begun. You can pass it around to see for yourselves. Each layer has 7 subdivisions and each subdivision shows cleansing. Right now the first layer is being purified. The temperature is 16 degrees because I haven't chosen. You can see up there, the upper number shows 5 energy layers, and below there are 7 small ones. Each layer has 7 subdivisions. It shows that cleansing is in progress, how many subdivisions have been cleansed. Also, you can see a person's pulse there. It shows what percentage has been cleansed. Everything is visible. So start with water. The very first practice is not running, not fasting. Fasting without previous practices is not allowed. It's harmful to health. Running too, walking too, static exercises are also harmful to do. Start with water. Start with the water, swimming in the pool, then add static exercises. Static exercises are the circulation of water energy. What are static exercises? It's standing near the wall, sitting in the butterfly pose. The butterfly pose is feet together, knees apart, back on a soft couch, back pressed against the wall. You can also sit in the butterfly pose on this chair. So feet together, knees apart, back pressed against the wall or the back of a chair. 1 energy layer is cleansed in 13 minutes. There are 5 energy layers in total, so 65 minutes is a complete cleansing cycle. If you feel everything is numb, impossible to sit, it means you have an energetic blockage there. If it's unbearable, then sit cross-legged, relax for 20 seconds, then back to the butterfly pose. 20 seconds break doesn't interfere with the body cleansing. That means the cleansing continues, but the cleansing power becomes weaker. However, if you take a 30-second break, the cleansing starts going backward. That means if you've cleansed 3 layers, it will decrease to 2.5 layers. This is not physiological and is bad for health. Therefore, you can't take a break longer than 20 seconds. Take a break and sit back in the butterfly pose. You can do this 3 times during 65 minutes, but if you feel it's still impossible, then finish earlier. It's okay. Gradually, you'll learn to do more. After 2-3 weeks of water and static exercises, you can start walking. Because you can only walk if your body doesn't overheat, if you're already confident in staying in water and doing static exercises. Static exercises should be done 4 times a week for balance. During this time, you can pray. If, let's say, you don't have such time, you can even work on the computer during this time. Sit in the butterfly pose, turn on the computer and work while your subtle energy body is recovering. This is certainly not the best option. Therefore, it's better to listen to a prayer or lecture or wish happiness to everyone during static exercises. It's better not to work. But if there's no possibility, you can do it. Sometimes when I give consultations or participate in a retreat, I practice the stationary position of the body, and it works well for me. You can even work while sitting in water. If you don't have time, get in the bathtub and talk on the phone. You'll still be filled with water energy. So don't tell me you don't have time. People always find time to eat. Why are you so thin? Dr. Torsunov, I don't have time to eat. Everyone eats. The same way you need to fill your subtle energy body with energy. Remember, 13 minutes cleanses 1 energy layer, 26, 2 layers, 39, 3 layers, 52 minutes, 4 layers, 65 minutes, complete cycle. If you stay longer, the cleansing starts again. This is already harmful for health. Are you tired of listening?
No.
If a person practices sitting in the water, doing static exercises, after 5-6 months they become calm as a rock. All their problems end. No irritability, no resentment. All inflammatory processes and chronic inflammations in the body end. Dr. Torsunov, I have kidney disease. I can't go in the water. Your kidneys are inflamed, which means, on the contrary, you need to get in water and do static exercises. And in 4 or 5 months, your inflammation will end. I can tell you about my experience. A person came to me and said, I have chronic pain in my bladder. Doctors have forbidden me to even touch water. They say it's all because of colds. I told him to get in the water, and the water wasn't even 28 degrees. This was in New York. I think the water was 13 degrees in the spa. I told him to get in the water and stay for 5 energy layers. He got in the water, stayed for 5 layers, then went to the sauna for 5 layers, then in water for 1 layer, then came out and said, "That's it, I don't have any pain." Why? Because the bladder got frozen. Just kidding. Because everything was healed. Some say that it will develop impotence. In America, they conducted a study and approved that ice-cold water increases potency. And now all the men there are getting into ice-cold water. They specifically sell ice to cool the water, to make it ice-cold. So the theory about the Siberian cat with a thin voice failed. You understand? It's all just people's imaginations. In fact, on the contrary, everything recovers, works fine. Static exercises have their patterns. For example, when a person sits in the butterfly pose, water energy starts to circulate in the lowest parts of the body. Therefore, it's very useful for treating infertility. In this case, a person should sit in the butterfly pose and in water, because 80% of infertility is lack of water energy. These are inflammatory processes of reproductive organs in women. If you stay in water and practice the butterfly pose, after 8 to 9 months, infertility will be gone. Just these practices alone are enough to cure infertility. And if you also add prolonged continuous movement, then it's even better. Water energy depletes fastest in the body. 3 days is enough for it to start decreasing. If you don't do static exercises and get into water, then water energy starts to decrease. Air energy decreases more slowly, sun energy even slower, but it's also harder to replenish them.
What is the correct way to sit in the butterfly pose?
Is there any volunteers here? Remember, it's not the butterflies pose, but the butterfly pose. The butterfly pose treats male and female infertility. If men are chasing women, they should sit in the butterfly pose. When his energy circulation starts, he treats his wife philosophically, or rather kindly. He doesn't chase her. You see, this butterfly pose heals the lower part of the body. The next body position, the diamond pose, heals the middle part of the body. You can fold your feet under yourself. You can stretch them. You can put a small cushion between your legs and buttocks. Yes, like this, yes, here. And it's easier to sit this way. The simplified diamond pose is when, while you are doing the diamond pose, you make a 20-second break by switching to cat pose. The cleansing doesn't stop within 20 seconds, it continues, but if it's longer, it interrupts. You shouldn't change body positions. It is not like you're starting in butterfly and ending in diamond pose. No, you can't do that. The middle part of the body is being healed. For example, if you're healing the spine in the lower thoracic region, you can sit in the diamond pose. Liver and pancreas are healed in diamond pose, female and male diseases, in butterfly. Now the kneeling pose. In all these positions, one energy layer is cleansed in 13 minutes. In the kneeling pose, the body is healed up to the chest. It heals up to the chest, you understand? If overload occurs in the kneeling pose, you can switch to cat pose and then back to kneeling. Now let's talk about standing. You can treat the upper body by standing. When you have migraines or headaches, you need to treat the upper body. You can treat this only while standing. Remind me of your name.
Karolis.
Here, Karolis runs and sits in water. He also does static exercises. Tell me, how has your life changed? Do you get sick? How far do you run? In what time?
In 2 hours.
In 2 hours? How often do you run? How old are you?
68 years old.
This is the Good People Club, Violet says. 68. He doesn't look 68. At 68, most people are already rattling their bones, but Karolis is looking for a bride. If you want, you can meet him. Can you tell that I'm 59? At 59, everyone's already old, folks. And everyone is rattling their bones, but I'm doing fine. Okay, let's continue. Now I'll explain everything to you. About movement. Don't rush anywhere. The main rule is to take your time. Is it clear about the movements? Just like in the sauna, the main rule is not to steam yourself too much and do everything carefully. The same applies to movement. Don't rush. At first, just start walking. Understand that when you start moving, you must approach everything that happens very responsibly. Because when you sit in water, do static exercises, you start an anti-inflammatory process. All unnecessary inflammations leave your body. But when you start prolonged, continuous movement, from this moment the body begins to heal, which means to inflame. That means healing is inflammation. And since you already have a mess there with lots of things accumulated, don't rush anywhere, because your body won't be able to cope. Start with just 1 layer. If a person walks slightly faster than average pace for 48 minutes, 1 layer gets cleansed. On the website torsunov.ru, In the header, there's a materials section, and when you click on it, you'll see a subsection, Calculation of Asceticism Practice Time. What is the calculation of asceticism practice time? Take a watch that measures pulse, distance, and time. This watch will show you what distance you walk in what time, and you should remember this. Then you go to Torsunov website and click the materials section. Here you can download the methodical guide, which is at the very bottom. When you click the subsection Calculation of Asceticism Practice Time, 3 little figures appear. There's a figure that's running. We click on it and set the distance to 5 kilometers and let's say time, 30 minutes. Let's better take 10 kilometers in time, 2 hours. Down there you see 2 3/7. This means 2 layers were cleansed and 3/7 more because each layer is divided into 7 parts. Is it clear? You cleanse 2 layers and 3/7 more for 10 kilometers in 2 hours. Understand? So on Torsunov.ru website you can determine how much you cleanse with what kind of walking. Start with 1 layer. Let's use 48 minutes as an example. Better let's set 1 hour and let's say 4.5 kilometers. This is 1 layer. So, if a person walks 4.5 kilometers in 48 minutes, they cleanse 1 energy layer. Start with 1 layer. 1 layer can be cleansed every day. Walk to cleanse 1 layer every day. Then when you feel it's easy to do, move on to 2 layers. 2 layers is 48 multiplied by 2, which equals 96 minutes. And accordingly, that's 9 kilometers. You need to walk once every 2 or 3 days. You shouldn't do it every day anymore. You can't walk like this every day. And you need to be sure that you don't have any serious problems in your second layer. Because if you have sick mucous membranes, let's say gastritis, or sick intestines, sick throat, sick bronchi, sick skin, sick lymphatic system, then you need to give your body time to heal. Don't rush anywhere. Walk for 2 layers for 2 or 3 months, for example. You might experience an aggravation. For example, you walk to cleanse 2 layers and your stomach started to ache. You go to the doctor and he says, "What were you doing?" "I was walking," you answer. "You shouldn't walk," the doctor replies. "And what should I do?" He'll say, "You should only walk to the bathroom and that's all." You understand? If you stop walking, your healing will stop. Therefore, you should continue walking. Don't go to anyone. If your stomach aches, it means it's healing. If you do static exercises, sit in water, walk for 2 layers, and your stomach starts aching, it means it's healing. How long do organs usually take to heal? 3 to 4 months. So after that, the body heals for 2 layers and nothing hurts anymore. You walk for 2 layers and nothing aches. Skin isn't suffering, mucous membranes aren't suffering, no constipation, no diarrhea. Then you can start walking for 3 layers. And 3 layers involve blood vessels, muscles, small joints, uterus, male urethra, heart, myopia, eye muscles. All this is the 3rd layer. When you start walking for 3 layers, you should multiply 48 minutes by 3. It equals 144 minutes. That's 1 hour and 24 minutes. And what about kilometers? We multiplied 4.5 kilometers by 3 and got 13 kilometers, roughly speaking. Walk once every 3 to 4 days. If, let's say, weakness appears after walking, dizziness starts, this means blood vessels are healing. You should continue walking. Don't be afraid of anything. Joints started hurting, knees hurt, means they're healing. What does it mean they hurt? They ache. If sharp pain occurs while walking, then you need to walk slower. It means your body can't handle the load. Maybe you are at such an age that you can't heal so quickly. You need to take care of yourself, do everything gradually. The slower a person walks, the slower the cleansing goes. Now let's study an interesting topic together. Let's say a person goes to the gym and says, "Dr. Torsunov, everything is fine with me. I go to the gym." It's not the fact that you're doing fine because you go to the gym. If you exercise for 40 minutes there, your cleansing goes for 2 layers, but hemorrhoids are located in the 3rd layer. Therefore, if you exercise in the gym for a year without healing the 3rd layer, you'll develop hemorrhoids. Or your knees will start hurting because knees are also in the 3rd layer. You use them when doing sports. Your muscles, blood vessels, and joints get depleted from sports, and you don't replenish them with energy because they are located in the 3rd energy layer. What happens next? You go to the doctor and say, "My knees hurt." He says, "You can't go to the gym." What can I do then? You can't do anything. That means that most of the doctors have no knowledge. They don't understand what to suggest to a person, but they simply need to exercise longer. After 2 hours, the joints start to heal. If you cleanse 4 energy layers, then the spine and hip joints begin to heal. Large joints can only be healed through 4 layers. You need to walk for 3 hours and 20 minutes for the spine to start healing, and healing will take a long time. You need to practice walking for 5-6 months for it to heal completely. I had spinal pain from flying. When a person flies, they shouldn't sit straight in the chair. When I fly, I do like this. I take a hard bag with wheels with me. I put it down and put my legs on it so that they are high up. My legs are up, my back is arched like this, and therefore the vibrations are distributed throughout the spine. And if a person sits straight, the vibrations go straight down, and their lower back gets damaged from the flight. You understand? When I sit like this, everyone is very interested. They all look at me and smile. What a strange man. My dears, when you walk 5 kilometers, 1 energy layer gets cleansed. The next day you walk 5 kilometers, the same layer gets cleansed again, and so on. And then you have your first layer cleansed while others remain blocked. This creates an imbalance, and there will be inflammation. If you walk only to cleanse 1 layer, your mucous membranes will be affected. If you only walk for 2 layers, your joints will be affected. If you walk for 3 layers, your spine will be affected. It will happen after some time, not immediately. That means that when the body has healed for 2 layers, it needs to heal further. You understand? So what's the problem with athletes? They don't know how to do everything right. One athlete came to me and said, Dr. Torsunov, I'm a marathon runner. I run marathons. Every day I cleanse 5 layers. Why does everything hurt? It's because you don't do static exercises and don't stay in water. He started doing all of this. A year later, he comes back and says, everything is great, nothing hurts at all. I'm completely healthy and happy. You understand? Everything needs to be done correctly. Let's continue. We don't start as intensively with walking as we do with water. Okay? We carefully bring static exercises up to 5 layers. With walking, we do it more slowly. There is such a rule. If you don't do static exercises for 3 layers, you have no right to walk for 3 layers. Because you have to start the circulation of water energy for 3 layers at first, and only then air. Because without water, air overheats a person and inflammations begin. There will be no healing. Everything will turn into chronic diseases. You understand? If you stand for 40 minutes for 3 layers or sit in the butterfly pose, then you can walk for 3 layers for about 2 hours. If we multiply 48 minutes by 3, it equals 2 hours and 16 minutes, something like that. You can walk once every 3 or 4 days. And if you walk for 4 layers, that's 48 multiplied by 4. It's more than 3 hours, then it's once every 4 or 5 days. And if you walk for 5 layers, that's 48 multiplied by 5. That's about 4 hours. Well, you should do it about once a week, depending on your speed. And if you want to cure Alzheimer's disease, it's when you remember here but don't remember there. Or you went in one direction, forgot that you had to go in another, and then forgot about this direction and went there again. What causes this? It is caused by the fact that you have a disturbance in subtle energy. How can you treat this? If you walk for 4 hours once a week, even at 80 years old, your disease will go away. You'll be thinking straight. Can you imagine?
What if sometimes we walk and sometimes run, like alternating?
Yes, that's fine. You can alternate. Just measure the total time and determine how many layers you've cleansed. Approximately, if you walk and run for about 3 hours, you cleanse 5 layers.
No. I mean walking for 4 hours one week and running for 2 hours another week.
That's fine, that's good too.
Are the butterfly pose and the lotus pose the same thing?
No, the lotus pose increases attention span, while the butterfly pose relaxes and pacifies a person. But the lotus pose also heals the lower part of the body.
Should the legs be like this in the butterfly pose?
Yes, like that, together, like little children sit.
And the arms?
Arms can be however you want. When you are doing static exercises, you can move your arms and head too. One person told me, Dr. Torsunov, I can't do static exercise properly. I asked, why? He said, because I blink. You can blink, you can turn your head, you can move your arms, the torso and legs should be still.
And what if we add mudras?
Mudras too. Would you like to know about mudras? You need mudras for prayer. The thumb represents me, the index finger represents my will. When we connect the thumb with the index finger, willpower and the ability to pray about fate increases. If you get very tired during prayer, connect the thumb with the middle finger. The middle finger is for rest, for relieving tension. If you're not confident in overcoming your fate, then connect the thumb with the ring finger. The ring finger is for defeating fate, for confidence. If you lack concentration, connect the thumb with the little finger. These mudras increase and direct energy flows in a certain direction. This is not related to body cleansing, this is just for prayer. And if, let's say, you've annoyed everyone at home, then this mudra, palms together. It's called I'm good. Okay? Look, there's absorption of water energy, and there's circulation. Circulation occurs due to gravity. There's no gravity in water. You're weightless there. You float there. There's no water circulation there. It first gets absorbed in water, and then when you stand by the wall, there's circulation. Some people ask, what if I'm lying down, Dr. Torsunov? But when you're not resisting gravity, the cleansing doesn't happen during this time. Is everything clear? So, when you start walking, slowly increase the load, because the body is healing, and you must be confident. For example, if your knee joint starts hurting when you're walking for 3 layers, you should continue walking for 3 layers. Don't walk for 4 layers, because you're engaging the body in the next level of healing while this one isn't finished yet. Okay? My lower back hurt for 3.5 years and then healed. Now it doesn't hurt at all. I started running for 5 layers right away. After 2.5 years, I reached 5 layers and started running for 5. You can walk or run for 5 layers too. It's just better to do everything carefully. You know, I'm the kind of person who thinks if it hurts, it's not a big deal. Everything started healing right away for me. I just continued and that's all. Everything healed. Now nothing hurts. My friend said that my lower back hurts because the discs are wearing out. Everything wore out, but now nothing hurts. My hip joints are all worn out, knees too, but nothing hurts. I run like a horse, nothing hurts. When a person starts walking, sooner or later something starts to ache with a dull pain. It's very good when this happens after walking. When you walk and nothing hurts, it means everything is normal in the body. As soon as you stop walking and your knee, hip joint or lower back aches, it means it's healing. How do you know that everything has healed? It stops aching. Then something else starts to ache. My right knee was aching for 6 months, then it stopped. Immediately after that, my hip joint started aching. The body heals everything one after another. Everything ached, even my brain. The brain just dissolved and that's it. That's why I feel good. I'm happy. I'm joking. Raise your hand. Who's speaking? Do you sit in water, do static exercises?
I use an inversion table.
That's the problem. You shouldn't use an inversion table. You need to stand against the wall or do the butterfly pose. Your legs are getting overloaded because of the inversion table.
Should I do static exercises and use the inversion table?
No, you need to replace it with static exercises. The inversion table doesn't provide complete cleansing. It works well for children, not for adults.
My legs get swollen.
Swelling in the legs? Sit down, I'll tell you everything now. You need to stand against the wall on 3 energy layers for 40 minutes. If overload begins, do squats. Don't walk for now. Practice staying in water, stand for 3 energy layers. While there's strong aching, don't walk.
There's no aching at all.
Is it just the swelling? It could be from the fact that when you're hanging on the inversion table, your legs lock up and overload. There's strong pressure on the feet and knees. Then you don't need to do anything. Continue hanging on the inversion table. How long do you hang for? 17.5 minutes, right? Keep going. In about 3 weeks it will go away. The areas that are under maximum stress are being healed now. You have to keep going. It'll be gone in 3 weeks. In general, the inversion table is a simplified form of static exercise. You have to move on to other exercises over time. Do you do prolonged continuous movement? How much do you do?
I walk as you mentioned in your lectures.
Everything is fine. Keep going the same way. In 3-4 months, everything will recover and will be fine. Some higher areas will start healing, like hip joints will ache or something else. It's a gradual healing process. People have fear for their life. This fear is the foundation of existence in this world. We all fear death. The fear of death extends to the need to eat, sleep, breathe, drink, have children. The need to have a house, to have a car, to have insurance, to have citizenship. Because all of this is necessary, a person's switch breaks down. We have a switch that makes a person feel fulfilled. A person should find time to be in the sun, go out for fresh air, wish happiness to others, talk with friends, pray. If a person has no time for all of this, then their life will be destroyed very soon, because they gradually become exhausted, lose strength. Their irritability increases because water energy is depleted. Weakness increases. Willpower suffers due to lack of air energy. Lack of sun energy leads to depression, negative emotions. In modern life, people don't live under the open sky. Just 100 years ago, people spent most of their time outside and they naturally filled up with these energies. They didn't have such problems. Now people no longer spend their time outdoors, and each new human invention depletes more. When television was invented, people began to become more exhausted. When computers were invented, people became more exhausted. When mobile phones were invented, people became exhausted even more. Soon they will invent special glasses in which you can work on a computer, talk on the phone, or do something else even while being outdoors. And people, even while walking down the street, will stop interacting with the surrounding world. They will become complete zombies. On one hand, it's convenient. Computers are very convenient. I can now give lectures in Chinese, Spanish, English. I studied English to give lectures in English, but somehow I couldn't learn it. But the Lord told me in my heart, don't worry, you'll soon start in English, and I did. On one hand, this progress is good, but on the other hand, people increasingly need help. There are many suicides, many depressed people, families are falling apart. Previously, in different countries of the world, there were 1 to 5% of divorces. Now it's 80, 100. People come to the registry office, you are declared husband and wife. This means that according to statistics, there's an 80% chance they will divorce. Why? Because they lack energy. The main reason is lack of energy. According to the scriptures, according to the Vedas, in our era in which we live, the main problem of all people will be what's called Shakti Rasa. Shakti means energy, Rasa means lack. People will be deprived of strength. 2 weaklings are crawling. One hit their head on the floor, hit it again. The second one says, are you doing hurdle racing? Lack of energy leads to bad habits. Lack of water energy leads to alcoholism. Lack of air energy leads to smoking, coffee, tea, gambling addiction. Lack of sun energy leads to debauchery, gambling, drugs, and everything is clear and understandable to me. For example, I look at a person, they have a 15% lack of water energy. At 20%, it's already alcoholism. At 17% lack, they can still somehow live. At 20, it's already alcoholism. 17% lack of air energy is still normal. At 20% comes smoking. When there's 15% lack of sun energy, they can somehow live. When it's 20% lack, weight gain begins. Benign tumors, malignant tumors, or drugs, choose what you prefer. Either you'll be overeating late in the evening or injecting yourself. If you overeat late in the evening, you'll get excess weight, then benign tumor and malignant tumor. You can start looking for a place at a cemetery. A small piece of land, you won't need much. So what to do? We need to learn how to repair this switch. This needs to be done through willpower. You need to understand that either you repair the switch or you'll have no strength later. Everything starts with knowledge. You need to get to a place where they'll tell you what will happen to you next. You will have 2 paths, one happy, one unhappy. We have a complex feeling, responsibility. We think, I need to take care of children now, need to clean the house, need to cook, need to work more, immediately need more living space. Immediately need more living space. For this, I will work 2 jobs, not for long, just 15 years. One took a mortgage for 15 years, will work a bit at 2 jobs or maybe a little more, and then they think they'll have a happy life. What kind of life will you live? You'll live with hemorrhoids. By that time, you'll already have intolerance towards your loved one. Your sleep will be disturbed, your belly will grow, hemorrhoids will reach your knee. That's the happy life. And that's the best case scenario. And in the worst case, diarrhea, cramps, death. Sense of humor always supports me. Missed it. I'm getting old. I'm a master of sports in Mandarin throwing. All right, good. So, knowledge helps a person to live. When I started running, all my friends started running too. Now I keep running, but my friends don't run anymore. Because I have knowledge and they don't. They found 1,000 reasons why not to do it. One of my acquaintances started gaining weight. I tell him, listen, please start doing all the practices. He says, I don't have time. I say, please just start. I have no time. 6 months later, acute pancreatitis, 6 months in the hospital. Severe weight loss, diabetes, hypertension, legs gave out, so many interesting things happened. Why? Because the person didn't flip the switch in time. We can live calmly for some time, and then life develops a serious crack. And the more a person postpones, the less opportunity there is to do everything right later. Because when a person has already let their situation deteriorate, they need to do all these asceticism practices very carefully to gradually come to the possibility of properly cleansing their body. The older the person is, the more ill they are, the less strength they have, the harder it is to start. And you need to be very careful. Stay in water little by little, do static exercises little by little, then a bit more, then start walking slowly, then gradually start fasting, then increase everything. Stay in water longer, lower the water temperature, do static exercises longer, walk more. And all of this requires strength, time, patience, until a positive habit develops. This means that your switch has been repaired. For example, dog switches have never been broken. Who has dogs? What's the benefit of dogs? They make you go outside. If you don't take it outside, they'll drive you crazy, will bark and howl in the house until you take them outside. As the song goes, man is dog's best friend, man is dog's best friend. Everyone knows that around. One doesn't bark, doesn't bite, doesn't chase passers-by, and pays zero attention to cats. That's good upbringing. A dog, an unintelligent being, takes an intelligent being outside for a walk. Is this a normal life situation at all? Yes? I understand. Good. There is such a concept, positive habit. It's such a cool thing. I've developed all positive habits. When I lack water energy, I go crazy. I need to get into water. And I will definitely find water somewhere. I will drive around looking for this water and get into it. Just now they took a photo of how we were sitting in that little swamp of yours there. Mud up to our knees.
We want to go there too.
Look, be careful. There you immediately sink knee-deep in mud. Hydrogen sulfide bubbles come up, but overall it's a therapeutic procedure. These are hydrogen sulfide baths. But afterward, I don't know how you'll wash yourself because it's very dirty.
We have a river nearby.
Yes? Good, then it's fine. It relaxes. This hydrogen sulfide water, it removes tension, it relaxes. Well, I'm saying that this is a positive habit. If I lack air energy, I need to get outside quickly, take a walk, or do some exercise. If I lack sun energy, I need to fast. And the body itself asks for it, wants it. And when I do it, I feel good. In winter, I need to get into ice-cold water. Ice-cold water. It's the best water energy there can be. It cleanses consciousness so strongly, makes you feel so good. Peaceful in the heart appears. You forgive everyone. No one can offend you. If you've sat in freezing water, everything's fine with you. It's really good to live like this. After a run, it's like being born again. It feels so good. When a person starts running, after some time they establish contact with nature. The movement itself activates this contact. When I started running, after running for more than half an hour, it goes like click, and you start feeling the smells of nature, freshness of the air. You start feeling good, start feeling as if you're young, a child. You have so much happiness inside, energy, and want to laugh. Such an awesome state. And also, we made a rule. When we run with the Good People Club, we shout happiness to everyone. Whoever we meet, we smile and shout, happiness to you, good morning. When we run, that's how it is.
Do they respond?
Everyone reacts differently.
In the park, they respond.
In the park, everyone responds to us. Valentina will make them. She'll make everyone happy. Once in another city, there were probably about 100 people running back and forth. And there was one man standing there. We were running near the Volga River, running along the Volga. One man was standing there and we said to him, good morning. Everyone told him, good morning. He replied, good morning, good morning. Running back, we said again, good morning. He said, I already said to you. And then he stepped aside. And we shout, good morning to everyone, shout and run. Well, we were running for a long time, back and forth 17 times, a kilometer back and forth, like that. And we shout, good morning to everyone else. He stood there unhappy, watching from aside because no one was saying it to him anymore. He stepped away. He stood there for a while, then came back again. We were running, saying to him, good morning. We started shouting, good morning to him again. He answered, good morning. Everything changes. People change. Why can't a person respond? Because they have a negative attitude. They are set for destruction. When a person doesn't flip the switch, they first develop anxiety. You know what anxiety is? They need to do more and more of everything. They rush to do everything. This is anxiety. Then the next stage after anxiety, tension increases, there's not enough internal energy, a person develops irritability. They not only become anxious, but also become dissatisfied. And then aggression appears. And aggression is just a broken switch. If you look at people from this perspective, then everything is normal. A person lives incorrectly, they have no strength to smile, they walk. It's very difficult for them to smile because of strong tension. And what's wrong with that? People are simply living incorrectly, that's all. They are too anxious. A Buddhist comes to a Lama, and the Lama asks him, "Are you progressing?" The Buddhist says, "I'm trying." The Lama says, "What do you do in your free time?" The Buddhist says, "I watch trees grow." The Lama says, "You're still restless." When a person cannot relax, they still need some kind of rest, and people choose types of rest that don't remove tension. Because to remove tension, a person needs to perform asceticism practice, force themselves. For example, going to the pool is an asceticism practice. You have to get into the water, sit there and shiver. It's a very unpleasant activity. The same is about the stationary position of the body. People think, "How will I stand by the wall?" They start sweating just from the thought that they will stand by the wall without moving. If you tell someone they need to walk for 4 hours, they'll think that Dr. Torsunov has a hidden form of schizophrenia. How can one walk for 4 hours? I'm not even mentioning fasting.
To do something, the mind must be set up for certain steps.
Would you like your mind to be set up now? If you don't do these practices in a year and a half, your already low blood pressure will become even lower. You'll start having dizziness and fainting spells. And if you don't do these practices for 3 years, you'll be in a pre-stroke condition. See, I inspired you very quickly. The fastest way to inspire consists of just several words. It's just one sentence. You won't need a coat for next autumn. There are 2 options. Either you'll do the practices, or you won't need a coat. I want to ask you one question. What do you think ancient people understood by the desire to live? Do you want to live or not? Our modern society understands the desire to live as the desire to work, the desire to create a family. If a person doesn't want to create a family, they tell them, "Are you alive or not at all?" Or if a woman doesn't want a family, they tell her, "What's wrong with you?" Or if a person doesn't work, they tell them, "Are you alive or not?" Do you know what ancient people understood by the desire to live?
Asceticism practice.
Yes, because if a person doesn't want to do asceticism practice, it means they don't want to live, and this works at any age, especially in old age. How do you know if a person's about to die? They don't want to walk or go outside, they just sit at home. Then it's time to order a coffin. A few months will pass, and the person will pass away. Why do they sit at home? Because they have no strength to walk. They've run out of strength. The desire to live means movement. Remember this. Movement and willpower. If a person cannot force themselves to get up early in the morning, this is a desire to die. Life expectancy immediately decreases. By how much? I'll tell you. If a person should wake up at 6 in the morning, but they wake up at 8, their life expectancy decreases by 7-8 years. If they wake up at 10 in the morning, life expectancy decreases by 15-20 years. They should live to 80 years according to their fate, but they live to 60. And how will they pass away? Suddenly they will have a heart attack, stroke, or something else. It seems like the person was unlucky. No, my dears, this is a wrong lifestyle. Late rising, late going to bed, it's a desire to die. Overeating in the evenings is a desire to die. If you don't want to do prolonged, continuous movement, it is a desire to die. If you don't want to get into water, it is a desire to die. If you don't want to do static exercises, it's a desire to die. If you don't want to fast, it's also a desire to die. A desire to die means a passive life in terms of working on yourself. Dr. Torsunov, I have no motivation. That means you don't want to live. If you don't want to forgive your loved one, it means you have no desire to preserve your family. I don't want to forgive them. Then your family will fall apart. This is 100%. If you can't forgive, then the family will fall apart. If you can't discipline someone close to you, the family will also fall apart. If you can't get up early in the morning, your life will fall apart. If you cannot go to bed on time, your life will fall apart. If you can't organize proper evening meals, your life will fall apart. If you can't force yourself to move for long periods, that's the end. I can tell you clearly and directly. Would you like me to tell you how your life will fall apart for any one of you? You yes? My dear, you have a severe lack of sun energy. On the third energy layer, there's a connection of two energetic blockages of dynamic tension and toxins. This means a high probability of atherosclerosis and uterine fibroids. The third layer is about blood vessels, uterus, and joints. All of this will start falling apart soon.
I'm in a difficult situation now. My husband is abroad, and we have no contact with each other.
My dear, look, sitting in water is free, doing static exercises is free, doing prolonged continuous movement is also free. All of this restores and removes your stress. You're telling me that you're stressed.
I was driven to this state.
You weren't driven. This is how karma impacts. The time comes and we get pushed to the edge, but we shouldn't let ourselves be pushed. Sit down. You're now explaining to me why you will die. There's a song, When I Pass Away. I know a modified version of this song. When I pass away, finish building the barn yourselves. From those stones and leaves, they call them bricks. The cement is behind the bathhouse. Pour water on it, then pour some more. When the moment comes, the cement will suddenly become hard. Then let in the pigs and piglets, children of pigs. That's how life goes. A pig gives birth to a pigsty of pigs. Oh, mama. What?
Can I ask a question?
Just a moment, my dear. I'm talking with you, but I'm entertaining you a little bit so you don't cry. My dears, when I pass away is not a way of thinking. Nothing is stopping you from getting into water. Everyone finds time for movies. Everyone finds time to chat on the phone, to sit on the internet, to watch the news about how everything is falling apart. Everyone has time for this. But you should find time to go outside, to sit in water, to stand near a tree, to walk, to do prolonged, continuous movement. It doesn't actually take much time, and your life will completely change. Everything in life will change. Relationships with people will change. First, your habits will start to change. The first thing that changes are habits. Positive habits appear. A person begins to understand what they really need in life. They begin to understand that they need nature, that they need fresh air, and that they need water. Raise your hand, those who started sitting in water. Tell me, did your life change after it? So you really started living differently, right? Your life became more calm and happier. It's like a completely different life. Who among you started sitting in an ice hole? Yes, indeed, it's like heaven and earth, life before and after, right? Who started doing static exercises? Did your life become calmer? Did you start forgiving your loved ones? Who started prolonged continuous movement? Did you develop plans for life? Has life turned on? Life started moving. Isn't it great to live like this? And it's much better than in this song. When I pass away, finish building the barn yourselves. Don't tell me why everything is so bad in your life. I also have reasons why everything could be bad in my life. 2 years ago, people took away my social media and rewrote all the community property to themselves. They started threatening me and ruining my life. A bad period came. So what, did I die? No, I sat in water every day, prayed, and did prolonged continuous movement. I understood that a bad period had come. I've got life expectancy right here on my left hand up to 67, and on my right hand up to 67 as well. You can come and take a look after the lecture. I should have been gone 2 years ago already. A very stressful time. That means pressure. All projects started to collapse. People who helped me treated me in a cruel way. I started praying to God, working on myself, practicing asceticism, completely disconnected from everything and just overcoming this. The water energy depletes so quickly that I need to sit in water every day, and I had these internal resources. I sat in water every day, did static exercises every day. When air energy was depleting, I ran. When sun energy was depleting, I was fasting. A year passed and the bad fate started to have less effect. I overcame my fate through prayers, and as a result, all property was returned back. We created new social media accounts. Some were returned, some were created anew. Everything was restored. But I knew there was going to be a bad period years in advance, so I prepared, I prayed. The desire to live means doing something. You need to figure out what to do, I'm telling you. First, you need to force yourself to live. You won't be able to get up early and go to bed on time right away. You won't be able to, because it requires energy. So the first thing a person should do is get into water. And nobody is forcing you to get into ice-cold water. 28 degrees is such water that is neither cold nor hot. There are people who won't get into 28 because even 28 feels cold for them. Raise your hand who can't get into 28. Then you need to get into 30. 30 degrees water cleanses very little, but it's a beginning. You're beginning. For 30-degree water, look at the table on Torsunov.ru website. I showed you the table yesterday. In 30-degree water, I think it takes 16 minutes to cleanse one energy layer. That means for the whole subtle energy body, 16 multiplied by 5, it's 80 minutes. That is 1 hour and 20 minutes, maybe even 90. It takes you probably about an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 50 minutes to cleanse the whole subtle energy body. But you can start with this. This will be the beginning. Any person can endure 30 degrees. It's a normal temperature. But it's better to start with 28 in a pool or bathtub. If you can't do 70 minutes, okay, start with 14 minutes. It's best to divide it clearly. Our subtle energy body has 5 layers. They are like a nesting doll. You know, like one nesting doll inside another. 5 nesting dolls, 5 energy layers. When a person sits in 28-degree water, the first layer is cleansed in 14 minutes. Then you continue sitting another 14 minutes to cleanse the second layer. In 70 minutes, all 5 layers are filled with water energy. That's it, your life is already better. If you do this once a week, for most people that's enough. There are people who need to do it twice a week. Well, this is already the beginning of a normal life. Now next comes static exercises. After you've started sitting in water, you can begin to do static exercises. This is necessary for water energy to start circulating inside your subtle energy body. And there, of course, everything is more complicated already because you need to choose such an exercise where you have the least tension. For some, the butterfly pose is easiest. For others, the diamond pose. There's a simplified diamond pose. There are ways to make life easier. You should do the butterfly pose on a soft couch, feet together, knees apart, back against the couch, and you are sitting like this. If you feel you can't sit, it's okay. You can relax and sit cross-legged for 20 seconds. Then you should go back to butterfly pose. The cleansing continues. It doesn't stop, just goes slower. If you could only sit for 20 minutes, it's okay. Next time you'll sit for 21 minutes, then 22. After 3 months, you'll be able to sit for 65 minutes already. If you manage 65 minutes with small breaks, then the time will come and you can do it without breaks. In this way, a person gradually comes out on the right path. If you stay in 28-degree water and do static exercises 4 times a week, you can start doing one static exercise to work through it, then work through the next one. But in fact, the exercise that is most difficult for you to do will heal you. If standing is difficult for you, it means you have problems in your head. Water energy circulates poorly in your head, so strive to stand. But don't start with this. Start with exercises that are easiest for you to do. Always start everything slowly. When I started running, I was only running 500 meters and it was very slow. Just as people walk, that's how I ran. I ran 500 meters and then I was out of breath, then 600 meters, 700 meters, and so I built up running for 2.5 years. Now I run 17 kilometers in an hour and 50 minutes. I run 90 kilometers per month, 1,000 kilometers per year. Not every antelope runs that much, just kidding. It's very important to understand that you need to start. Let's say you have sick joints, don't be afraid of anything. Start sitting in water. Doctors will tell you, you can't sit in water with sick joints, don't believe them. Sit in 28-degree water, do static exercises until you feel that the acute pain in your joints has gone. Even if you're on hormonal medication, it's no big deal. You still should do water and static exercises until the pain in your body goes away. When the pain goes away, it means there's enough water energy to prevent too strong inflammatory processes. Then you can start walking slowly. Start, even if you're a very sick or old person. Walk very slowly, more and more. Don't be afraid of anything. Gradually keep increasing the load. If something starts aching, that means it's healing. Don't be afraid, it will ache for a while. Even at an elderly age, it heals. Everything can be treated. I started these cleansing practices when I was 50 years old. I've been practicing yoga all my life, and I used to run when I was young. Then I thought if I pray, I don't need to do anything else, but later I realized that this was complete nonsense. I figured it out in time. Now Elisa helps me give lectures. The most important principle is don't rush and don't stop. Don't allow yourself to stop doing these things. Don't allow it. There are lots of reasons why I shouldn't do this. My husband went to America. Everything is bad. Don't allow yourself. You need to continue. You have to continue and develop a positive habit. Once a positive habit is established, you will no longer be able to live without it because your body will realize that it needs it. Right now it doesn't know. A person comes home and thinks, I need to watch TV. Because the body doesn't know what it doesn't need. It says, I need to eat sweets now. I need to watch TV. I need to smoke. I need to drink. Because the body doesn't know what it needs. There was a malfunction. The switch is broken. Start forcing yourself to sit in water. Force yourself to stand near trees. When a person does static exercises near trees, the cleansing goes even better. Who among you thinks that they cannot maintain a stationary position of the body due to age or something else? Raise your hand. There are trees. Buy a camping chair and sit near a tree. For example, the linden tree heals mental illnesses and nervous systems. Maple tree heals joints and spine. Oak tree heals the spine. Pine tree heals and restores immunity. It kills viruses and chronic viral infections. Alder calms down and improves sleep. Birch tree heals allergies, nervous system, and women's diseases. Poplar heals women's diseases and infertility.
Kidneys?
Linden tree heals kidneys too. Take a camping chair and sit near a tree. You can do whatever you want. Play your computer games, watch soap operas. But it's better to pray or listen to lectures. That's also fun and amusing. When a person sits near any tree, it should be thicker than you in size, or at least the same size as you are as a person. If it's thinner, it will tense you. So the thicker the tree, the better. If the tree is 300 years old and it's a huge one, that's excellent. You sit with your back to the tree and just relax. One energy layer gets cleansed in 20 minutes. The energy of water begins to circulate in the body just through contact with the tree. This is called passive cleansing. Of course, active static exercises are much better. But if you can't, let's say you stand for 5 minutes and you have dizziness or nausea, it means you already have a catastrophic disruption of water energy circulation. This can happen. Then you should sit near trees. 20 minutes for one layer. After 1 hour and 40 minutes, all your 5 layers will be cleansed. At least you should sit by trees twice a week. This is how you can start. After 3 months, you'll be able to do static exercises. Everything will start working. The trees will give the ability for water energy to circulate, and then you can stand near trees, and then you get double cleansing. If you stand near a wall, it's a 50% result, but near a tree, it's a 100% result. The cleansing is very powerful. This is how you need to start gradually. Start doing static exercises slowly. You shouldn't think, I can't do it. It's nothing terrible. For example, you start a static exercise and circulation begins. Why do legs get numb? Water energy doesn't flow normally. All swelling is because of water energy disruption. Legs get numb, heat in the body, disruption of water energy movement, tingling sensations, numbness in the body. It's all a disruption in the flow of water energy. If you continue doing static exercises, all of this will go away. You will sit and nothing will bother you. There will be lightness in the body. Prolonged continuous movement should be started after water and static exercises. Don't rush, just do water and static exercise for 2-3 weeks. Then you feel that you don't have inflammation in the body. Somehow it became calm. Everything inside is settled. Then start prolonged continuous movement. Walk as much as you can. It's best to add 48 minutes at a time. Look, at an average pace, approximately 1 energy layer is cleansed in 48 minutes. A person can walk for several months working on 1 layer. That's fine. The main thing is not to give up such practice. You should definitely move on. You can add 24 minutes at a time. You can add half a layer at a time, then continue further. After 3-4 months, you will be able to walk for 4 layers, 5 layers. When you add each layer, something starts to heal. If you feel something has become aggravated, don't rush to add more. Wait. Let everything heal. Walk for several months, don't rush anywhere, then add more when healing is complete. If knees start hurting, that's the 3rd layer. That means you can't walk more than 2.5 hours already. You need to wait until they heal. Then you can continue. When you reach the 4th layer and walk for 3 hours, your spine starts aching. It's good, it's healing. When you walk for 5 layers, the nervous system starts healing. People nowadays have many unresolvable problems. They can't get married, live in a family. For example, many women come up and say, I want to get married. I meet people quickly, but then relationships fall apart. I can't maintain relationships. You don't need to meet anyone else. You should cleanse your subtle energy body. This is definitely a lack of energy, 100%. There is no need to go to astrologers. An astrologer will tell you that you have a cross of loneliness, crown of celibacy, horseshoes of infertility. As long as you pay money, they'll tell you lots of things.
I'll tell you from my experience, they simply stir up energy. I experienced this because I walked a lot and prayed a lot. I noticed that they simply brought me down. I noticed that because I went to them, I simply couldn't even go to church.
My dear, I have a good example too. For instance, my wife is also an astrologer. She spends whole days thinking about how to match people together. Sometimes she jumps up at night. Oh, I know. She writes to someone, connects people, tries to create couples so people would get married. There are good astrologers too, but mostly they just scare people. You know, when a person is underdeveloped, they need to scare them to get money. For example, if you go to a doctor and they don't scare you, you won't pay for the medicine. They need to scare you, and they scare you with your own facts, they just exaggerate them. If your knee hurts, they say it's incurable. You'll have to take medicine for the rest of your life. So gradually, a person comes out of their energetic downward spiral. Imagine this situation. You're 50 years old with many chronic illnesses, but you've learned to stay in water long enough to cleanse all 5 energy layers of the subtle energy body. You've also mastered static postures and sustained prolonged, continuous movement that reaches all 5 energy layers, and fasting for at least 3 layers. That's it. After 2 years, you'll be a healthy person. You've initiated rejuvenation processes. Now just wait. Observe your body. Everything will begin to heal. Everything will recover. Some organs will take a long, tedious time to heal. For instance, my lower back ached for 3.5 years. Can you imagine? Every day I felt it ache and ache. And I thought, maybe this is all nonsense. Maybe my vertebrae are deteriorating. Then I noticed the pain in my lower back started to spread upward and downward, leaving the center pain-free. I realized the healing had begun in the center and was moving outward, upward, and downward. Later, the pain shifted lower to my hip joints. My pelvic bones hurt. I never imagined that bones could ache like that. After the pelvic bones healed, the joints began to ache, then the pain moved lower. Eventually, everything was treated, and now my lower back doesn't hurt at all. All the vertebrae were erased. Nothing hurts anymore. Just kidding. Everything is perfectly healthy now. It turns out that even at nearly 60 years old, everything in the body can heal and recover. You simply need more energy. The older you get, the more asceticism practices are required to maintain health. But people do the opposite. The older they get, the less they move, and this creates a vicious cycle. That's why it's important to break out of this cycle. A young child doesn't need to replenish their subtle energy body through asceticism practices. They just run outside into the sunlight, and that's enough. Look at children. They run around outside in the sun all day and nothing happens to them. No sunstroke or anything like that. Sunstroke is a result of accumulated toxins inside the body. You step out into the sun, spend 30 minutes under its rays, and your second layer begins to cleanse. That includes mucous membranes and skin, where toxins are stored. These toxins immediately enter your bloodstream, lowering blood pressure because the toxins affect your blood vessels. Blood pressure drops immediately, leading to a vascular collapse, and the person faints, what they call a sunstroke. But it's not sunstroke, it's just detoxification. I went to Israel and started experimenting by running under the sun with my head uncovered. As I ran, I observed that my second layer had a predisposition to a toxin-related blockage. After 25 minutes of running, I transitioned to the second layer, and detoxification began. In the south, one energy layer gets cleansed in 25 minutes of sunlight. Here in the summer, it takes around 40 minutes for one layer to be cleansed because the sun is weaker. Come to the Caucasus, where the sun shines directly into your eyes. Come to Europe, where the sun shines somewhere else entirely. Even though the sun is weaker here, if the sky is clear, you can still cleanse with the sun. Right now, in the middle of summer, it takes about 35 minutes in the sun to cleanse one energy layer, so it's still effective. But the key is a clear sky. If there are clouds, it won't cleanse. So I'm running under the sun, and suddenly I feel nauseous. And a thought crosses my mind, sunstroke, sunstroke. I decided to keep running. I keep going, and suddenly the nausea passes. Once the blockage was removed, the nausea was gone, and I felt better. The next day I ran under the open sun again, and the nausea was much less. The next day the nausea was even less, and eventually it disappeared completely. Then I spent 50 minutes under the sun, cleansing 2 layers, and felt unwell again. Why? Because healing was taking place. The sun heals everything there. Why nausea? Because the sun is removing toxins from the body, but toxins do run out. The sun clears them here, there, and everywhere. After a month, I could stay under the sun for 5 energy layers, over 2 hours under the scorching sun, running, exercising, swimming, and had no problems at all. I just got tanned, became darker, and that was it. Got it? There's no need to be afraid of the sun. Some people step out into the sun and immediately say, "That's it, the sun isn't for me." If you're worried about your skin, that's valid. You can use sunscreen because there is an external energy of the sun that might be harmful. But there is also the subtle energy of the sun, which acts on the subtle energy body and always heals it. This energy is beneficial for humans. If you are overweight, it means you lack the sun's energy. You need to spend time under the sun.
How does the sun heal?
The sun heals through the head. The lower the sun enters the body, the dirtier its energy becomes because the sun interacts with subtle energy centers. The highest center in the head is connected to the spiritual realm. Ideally, the sun should enter directly through the top of the head. If a person covers everything and only exposes the lowest subtle energy center to the sun, all your internal negativity rises to your head, along with the sun's energy. Then you come home and unload all that negativity on others. That's because you are triggering the circulation of sun energy incorrectly. The sun is like a holy person. You shouldn't expose disrespectful parts of your body to it. It's an insult. People cover everything but expose whatever they want to get tanned. This is like when Kasparovsky held those healing sessions and people pointed their lower parts at the TV hoping to cure hemorrhoids. But for Kasparovsky, that was normal. He was making money. But why disrespect a sacred force like the sun? Such actions result in diseases, including mental health issues. You should receive sunlight through your head. Doctors often say to always cover your head in the sun. However, doctors are not always right. I'm not against doctors. I'm a doctor myself, a candidate of medical sciences. I just chose a different path. I aim to truly heal people, not provide temporary fixes. Many doctors are great and genuinely try to help. I'm not against them. I just use methods that are more effective. These methods don't work instantly, but they ultimately give a person a better quality of life. You shouldn't start with the sun. Begin with water, then static exercises, then prolonged continuous movement, and only then sunlight. Remember, the sun is the most aggressive energy. It's beneficial but requires caution. Start with water, then sunlight, then water again. This is always the rule. Water, sun, water. Got it? The best way is to stay in water for 5 energetic layers. If you want to heal with sunlight in the south, great idea. But first, spend time in water for 5 energetic layers. Then, stay in the sun as long as you can, and afterward, return to the water for 1 layer. How long? For example, while in the sun, just walk. You shouldn't lie down in the sun. You can stand, do static exercises, walk, do light workouts or run, but don't lie down. Lying in the sun hinders the movement of sun energy in your body. This can lead to significantly lowered blood pressure. If a person lies in the sun, then gets up and falls, it's because their energy level dropped significantly. If you walk in the sun, it's great. The energy absorbs properly and circulates. How do you determine how long to stay in the sun? Walk and observe yourself. If you feel yourself overheating or slightly unwell, stop, go into the water, end your contact with the sun. Next time you'll be able to stay longer, and eventually even more. Take your time. Life is ahead of you. In about 2 weeks, you'll be able to clean yourself under the sun for 5 layers while in the south. But start slowly, don't rush. Always follow the sequence: water, sun, water.
Is it better under the hot sun or in the morning?
In the morning is best, during the rising sun. As soon as it starts to warm, the healing begins immediately. When you feel the sun isn't strong, there's no healing happening. If it's warming you, the healing is active. Here it warms only between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. At other times it's weak.
In the south, does it start at 8 a.m.?
Yes, from 8 a.m.
Can you combine swimming and being in the sun at the same time?
Yes, that's an excellent combination. It's a wonderful practice. The sun is absorbed through your head. Stand up to your chest in water, close your eyes, and face the sun with your eyes closed. The eyes are healed because they need sunlight. Artificial light damages them. How does it happen? The eyes become polluted with energy. When you look at the sun with closed eyes, the energy is restored properly, and the healing process begins. You are simultaneously cleansing yourself with the sun and water. This is the most ideal combination, though the speed of cleansing varies. For example, when I was in Dubai in November last year, there was an interesting phenomenon. The water temperature was 31.5 degrees Celsius. It was late November in Dubai. The sun and water were cleansing at the same rate, perfectly in sync. I stood in the water for exactly 2 hours, which cleared 5 energetic layers. During that same time, the sun also cleansed 5 layers. Such a phenomenon occurs when the water is warm enough for the sun and water to heal simultaneously at the same pace. In Israel, at the Dead Sea, there's another unique feature. When you lie in the water, it lifts you because it's so salty. Salt heals passively, removing dynamic tension. Movement actively removes blockages, but salt does this passively. Water heals static tension, the sun removes toxins, and salt helps as well. If you arrive early in the morning, say at 6, the sun can cleanse you in 5 layers over 2.5 hours, along with the water and salt. You benefit from all 3 energies there. So after lying for 2.5 hours, you're done. Just bring an inflatable pillow for your head and wear swimming shoes for your feet. The swimming shoes slightly lower your legs, while the pillow raises your head a bit. It's comfortable. You lie there. You can pray or do whatever you like. It's an excellent method for rejuvenation. But this practice requires a trained body. Only a trained person can handle all 3 cleansings simultaneously, but it deeply relaxes the psyche. After 2.5 hours, you feel as if you're reborn. It's like living in space. You feel light and wonderful.
What if I add salt to the bathtub?
Will you add enough salt to float on the surface? For a bathtub, you'd need about 35 kilograms of salt for every 100 liters of water, and you'd have to stir it for a week. It dissolves very slowly. You'd need to stir it for a week, and then you could lie in the tub. Theoretically, you could do it, get a large tub at home, blockage it, fill it with water, and create your own mini Israel. Just keep adding more and more salt. When the salt stops dissolving and leaves a white crystal layer at the bottom, that's when you know the amount is sufficient. When you lie in the tub, you won't sink. You'll stay on the surface. Don't laugh, even you won't sink.
What kind of tension does salt passively cleanse?
Salt heals dynamic tension. Now let me share some fascinating information. Raise your hand if you or someone you know has a child with autism, cerebral palsy, speech or hearing impairments. You should know that these issues are primarily caused by a lack of water and air energy at the 5th energy layer. And these can be treated through passive practices because children can't do active practices, but they can handle passive ones. For example, any child can handle 70 minutes in 28-degree water. These children often want to be in water. They intuitively feel they need it. If they are in a decompensated state, they may fear water, but they need to be encouraged to adapt. Instead of static body positions, 2 alternatives work well for children. The first option, for a small child aged 3 to 4 years, you can tie them gently with an elastic band to a tree. In summer, you sit them near the tree, give them toys, and tie an elastic band around the tree. The child moves, plays, but can't wander too far from the tree. After 1 hour and 40 minutes, the energy of water begins to circulate fully, and autism starts to heal. 2 sessions a week in 28-degree water for 70 minutes, and 4 sessions for 1 hour and 40 minutes near the tree. For older children, aged 6-7 years, you can use a device called an inversion table. An inversion table is a type of bench on rollers. It flips over, the feet are secured at the bottom, the child is flipped upside down and hangs suspended. When a person hangs upside down, gravity activates passive cleansing and water energy circulation begins. If a child hangs vertically, 1 energetic layer is cleansed in 3.5 minutes. In 17.5 minutes, all 5 layers are cleansed. Small children love hanging upside down. They enjoy it because they feel it works well for them. It's very hard for them to stand still. They won't do it, but hanging can be encouraged. You can give them something like a Mickey Mouse toy. They'll watch, play with Mickey Mouse, and hang upside down at the same time. Start with 3.5 minutes. For 1 week, let the child hang 4 times a week for 3.5 minutes each time. The next week, increase to 7 minutes, then 10.5 minutes, then 14 minutes, and finally 17.5 minutes. At 17.5 minutes, all 5 energy layers are cleansed. The blockage associated with autism will begin to heal between 15 and 17.5 minutes of hanging. With a year of these practices, 50% of the health condition will be resolved. Autism involves 2 types of blockages, static tension and dynamic tension. Dynamic tension requires more complex treatment. If the child is older, you can walk with them, holding their hand, or without holding hands. Walk without stopping, matching their natural pace, so they are not running, but walking. Maintain their natural medium stride. Walk with them at their medium pace for 4 hours. The child might run, sit, or walk intermittently, but you should not stop. Keep encouraging, saying, let's go, let's go. While they alternate between running and sitting, their cleansing process will still proceed. After 4 hours, all 5 energy layers will be cleansed. If the child absolutely refuses to walk, there's another option, passive cleansing. Nowadays, many spas offer a concept called a salt room. In a salt room, they typically maintain a low temperature of around 40-50 degrees Celsius, 104 to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. At this moderate temperature, 1 energy layer is cleansed in approximately 12 minutes, targeting dynamic tension. Just as active movement cleanses the body, salt therapy offers a similar passive alternative. Another option is a salt bath. Fill a bathtub with water and add salt. This isn't just a few kilograms of salt, it's a significant amount, around 35 kilograms, 77 pounds, for a full tub. You keep adding and dissolving salt until it stops dissolving, leaving crystals at the bottom. When you see undissolved crystals forming at the bottom, the concentration is sufficient. You can test this by lying in the water. If you float without sinking, it's ready. However, this water will irritate the eyes upon contact. You must avoid any splashes to the eyes. It's best to have children wear swimming goggles that fully cover their eyes. Also ensure the water doesn't get into the mouth as it can harm mucous membranes. The child lies on the surface of the water while you supervise, ensuring they don't touch or ingest the water. At a temperature of around 32 degrees Celsius, 89.6 degrees Fahrenheit, 5 energy layers can be passively cleansed within 2.5 hours. Maintain the temperature at 32 degrees Celsius, and if the child can endure for 2.5 hours, all 5 energy layers will be cleansed passively. How is this done in a salt room? First, the child spends time in a pool for 5 subtle energy layers. 28 degrees Celsius, 82.4 degrees Fahrenheit, water for 70 minutes, and then you proceed to the salt room. You sit there with the child for 60 minutes playing together. After that, spend 14 minutes in the water again. Take a break. Now you can ask me some questions.
My daughter is having a very hard time after chemotherapy. How can I help her?
Only prayer, and watch over her to ensure she follows all the practices. Make sure she's doing everything. When fate is insurmountable, only prayer can help, nothing else.
And how can I improve my own life?
You need to start practicing everything I've talked about. You lack air energy and sun energy the most. Your willpower is suffering and you're experiencing depression. You need to overcome your circumstances. Water, static exercises, dynamic movement, sunlight, fasting, do it all.
Could you tell me what I'm lacking?
You're currently lacking about 5% water energy. Perhaps you've started sitting in water? No, not yet. The blockages related to water energy are very pronounced. You don't have much water energy itself, and the blockages are strong. You're also lacking about 8 to 9% air energy, and those blockages are also strong. You're most deficient in sun energy, lacking about 12%, which is why you have excess weight. On the 4th energy layer, the combination of air energy blockages and a lack of sun energy creates the risk of diabetes. Kidney and liver diseases, issues with the lower part of the body, pose risks of oncology and severe illnesses.
Could you please explain how to properly perform asceticism practice during pregnancy?
First, staying in water is completely fine. Choose a temperature that feels neither too cold nor too warm.
I'm sitting in 20-degree water now. Is that okay?
If it feels good, continue. After sitting in 20-degree water, make sure to warm up afterward. At 20 degrees Celsius, all 5 layers are cleansed in about 35 minutes. For static exercises, only the butterfly pose is suitable. Sit carefully in the butterfly pose without strain. You absolutely must engage in prolonged, continuous movement, walking calmly and steadily.
I walk for 4 hours.
If you're walking for 4 hours, water and static exercises are essential. Otherwise, it will lead to overstrain. Gradually adjust your walking as the pregnancy progresses. It will become harder to walk for long. But walking remains crucial. It's like needing air to keep a fire burning without smoke. What is pregnancy-related nausea? It happens when the digestive fire is active, the baby is growing, but there's not enough air or prana, leading to toxin buildup. The woman feels nausea, which means she needs to walk. If you feel weakness or nausea, it's a sign that you should walk for a longer time. Walking for 4 hours every day isn't necessary. Once a week is enough. But you should still walk for at least an hour daily to avoid nausea altogether. Fasting isn't required during pregnancy because fasting is already happening naturally due to the baby. Sunlight is essential.
How do I know what I need?
Start with water practices. After being in the water, you'll feel cold. It's the perfect time to go out into the sun. Sunlight is especially beneficial after water. You should eat only what appeals to you because that's what your baby needs. It's what the baby wants. At the moment, your baby seems to want green cabbage. You're craving cabbage now.
And cottage cheese.
Yes, and you crave cottage cheese too. That's exactly what the baby needs right now. For example, the baby doesn't want cauliflower, so you're finding cauliflower unappealing now. But green cabbage feels good. You should eat that. The baby wants white bread, but not rice. Not rye either, but white bread. Yes, the baby wants that. And you should eat it.
Can I eat white bread if I'm craving it?
As I said, you should eat whatever the baby desires. I can sense what your baby wants, I know. For instance, beet sugar isn't good for your baby. That's why you're not interested in sweets right now. But cane sugar works for your baby. If you try eating it, you'll like it. Coconut sugar also suits your baby, but cane sugar is even better.
What type of oil is best?
White sesame oil. Who's next?
I have a stutter. What can I do?
Your stuttering is caused by a blockage at the very beginning of the fifth energy layer, combining static and dynamic tension. If you practice all exercises for 5 layers within a year and a half, your stuttering will significantly diminish, and eventually it will disappear. It might be affecting you. When you start speaking, men feel intimidated. You just need to heal yourself. Don't focus on a husband right now. Start working on cleansing the blockages in your body, and you'll fully recover. Begin practicing static exercises. You need to stand still regularly to heal your head. Standing is essential. Gradually build up prolonged movement until you can start running. If you can run for 5 subtle energy layers, you'll clear your dynamic tension effectively. This way you'll get rid of your stutter. Only then can you start thinking about family life. You need to restore your energy first. Your water energy is so depleted that even if someone meets you, you'll feel drained by them. You'll want to spend time alone, and they won't understand why you're avoiding communication with them. They will be confused. They'll think, why has she suddenly stopped talking to me? Why doesn't she want to meet today? But it's your lack of water energy. You get exhausted by being around people. So focus on restoring your energy first. Become happy.
Can I ask a question? My mom has cancer and my dad has heart problems. It feels like there's some kind of karmic burden lately.
Yes, for 2 years. It will end in a year.
How can I help?
Through prayer. The most difficult period will end in 6 months. In a year, things will become much easier. You're losing air energy and sun energy, which is causing exhaustion and disappointment. You need to practice everything. But if you take long walks and fast, life will feel easier. But you can't do it without water.
I have a question. During quarantine, my husband and I had a falling out.
Well, go ahead and ask.
Do we have a chance to restore our relationship?
Does he want to live with you?
I felt it was related to his work.
Does he want to live with you or not?
I don't know. I can't say.
Do you want to live with him?
I do. But I can't bring him home because my brother is there. And my brother causes conflicts. That's the problem.
Live without your brother.
I'd need to rent an apartment.
You need to take things step by step. First, try to reconcile with him through friends.
Is it even possible?
Yes, he's thinking about you too.
He is, really?
Yes, he's just very shy. He won't approach you himself.
I think he went somewhere to work. And at the moment, I don't know anything about him.
You need to find out. Start through friends.
He acts like he doesn't want to restore the relationship. I tried to find out through a woman I know. She's a lawyer.
Stand over there. It's hard for me to speak this way.
This woman is a friend of his. She might know some information about him.
Reach out to him, communicate. He will come back.
Will he come back?
Yes.
I know he'd like to come back, but my brother's behavior is an obstacle.
As I said, reconnect with him. Once you're back in touch, rent an apartment and live separately from your brother.
Should I reach out to him myself?
That's it. It's time for the lecture. Further questions afterward.
Thank you.
Take this.
It's for you.
What for?
If possible, could you talk about varicose veins in women?
All right.
I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to you, I saved my family.
Wishing you happiness. Everyone take your seats. Let's continue. We're learning how to help children. Most children primarily suffer from a lack of water and air energy. It's very rare for children to lack sun energy, but even that can be treated. For example, epilepsy results from a deficiency of air and sun energy. In cases of autism, there's a lack of water and air energy. For cerebral palsy, there's also a lack of water and air energy. Cerebral palsy affects the nervous system, while autism mostly impacts mental functions. Both conditions can be treated through asceticism practices. Sitting in water is something any child can do. To activate water circulation, you can choose either an inversion table or a tree. There's a practice called passive energy cleansing with a tree. It's the simplest option. You need to place a piece of wood under the bed. Take a thick cut log. The base of the log should be at the foot of the bed and the top near the head. Place it under the bed. Build the bed with the log first, then the mattress, and then the child. Let the child sleep there overnight. During sleep, passive healing occurs and water energy circulation is restored thanks to the log under the bed. This can even be done for an adult, especially if there are sleep disturbances. If someone has a mental illness, placing a log under the bed is also a very effective practice. It restores water energy circulation. For example, if someone is an alcoholic and they don't want to do anything else, you need to convince them to go to a pool, swim there for 70 minutes, and place a log under their bed. You'll solve about 40% of the alcoholism issue, maybe even more. Because alcoholism is a lack of water energy.
What kind of tree?
The best is linden. It's the gentlest for the psyche, the best tree. But it has to be a whole log, not a cut-up piece. Otherwise it won't work. If a child doesn't want to hang upside down, you can show them cartoons. They can hang while watching cartoons or doing something entertaining. This won't interfere with the cleansing. If you do this, all issues with their autism will be resolved. Imagine after a year your child begins to interact with people. Part of autism is social withdrawal. There are two main issues, lack of concentration and social withdrawal. If the child spends time sitting in water, near a tree, or hanging upside down after a year, they will no longer be socially withdrawn. They will start interacting with people, speaking and developing socially. And if you manage to include either salt room sessions, long walks, or salt baths, the child can fully recover, because this will activate the air energy in their body as well. Understood? Once again, I want to say that if you are hesitant to implement these practices yourself, we offer a service for this. It's a health consultation focused on a healthy lifestyle. We can accept payments in Europe or anywhere else. There's no issue. What does this consultation entail? I test a person's subtle energy body. I identify where their blockages are located, what they are, and where there's an energy deficiency. I document everything and provide a detailed report. This plan doesn't change. It remains for life. You undergo the testing, and then my assistant communicates with you. I provide them with instructions on what to do based on your constitution and issues. Then the assistant helps implement this in your life. They stay in touch with you for a month. If you have questions, you can ask them. The cost is approximately 300 euros. Prices vary greatly, so it's a comparatively cheap service and you can get diagnosed. Go to the website torsunov.ru. There's a consultation section. Go to the section called HLS Consultation. HLS stands for Healthy Lifestyle. HLS Consultation, go to this section and dial the phone. Ariana or Daria will talk to you, and with them you can resolve all the issues. This is not mandatory. It's just only in cases when you have a small child and you're afraid for it, or when someone is seriously ill, or I don't know what other cases when a person is afraid to do all of these things. Then they are doing it under supervision. But there is also a methodical health guide. Just download it right here through the QR code. Or go to the website, download the methodical health guide. You can find it in the material section. Just download the guide and do everything according to it. Everything is written there, how to do what. You understand? Really?
If a person has diabetes, what should he do?
Type 1 diabetes. Is it insulin dependent? For how long? A year? I see he's been sick for a year but was only diagnosed recently. So, look what you need to do. Diabetes means a severe lack of water energy. He needs to lie in the water for 5 energy layers and start hanging upside down. The pancreas is located on the 4th energy layer, which means the treatment for water energy deficiency will begin from 14 minutes of hanging. Up to 40 minutes, from 10.5 to 40 minutes, the 4th energy layer is treated, and the pancreas will be also treated at that time. If he enjoys hanging, then continue. If not, then he needs to sit near a tree. Linden tree works best, linden or maple. 20 minutes per layer, which means he needs to sit by the tree for at least an hour and 20 minutes 3-4 times a week. There are certain foods that selectively improve blood circulation in the pancreas. Now I am going to give you a recipe that can help everyone who has diabetes. Take a tablespoon, fill it without making a heap. 2/3 of the oats, whole oats or just oat groats, and 1/3 flax, flax seeds, whole flax seeds, 2/3 oats, 1/3 flax. Pour all of it into a Ziploc bag that can be sealed. Pour it all like this, wrap it in a fabric and tie it to your arm, left arm. Right here where people wear watches, on this side. And left leg, where the foot bends at the front. 2 of these Ziploc bags. This mixture itself is valid for 24 hours. You need to start wearing it from 6 a.m. to midday. If the child feels well during this time, their blood sugar will get low. You need to monitor his insulin if he is receiving injections. Because when he wears this, it might happen that the child can lose consciousness or turn pale, get dizzy, because their blood sugar will start dropping significantly. And if you feel it's working well, the child is getting better, wear it from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 12 hours, change the bandages every other day. And if he wears it for 6 hours, then change it every 4 days. Sit in the water, sit by a tree, hang upside down. The best food for the pancreas is greens. If you can find any smoothie recipes, whip in a blender with bananas or something sweet. Therefore, the child should drink these greens because these greens can heal the pancreas too. The best option is the lettuce leaf. A spinach leaf will also work. These leaves are very beneficial. There's also an auroch leaf. Auroch is now growing up outside. If you take quinoa grains and throw them in the soil, an auroch will grow. When it grows, it's just a small, soft plant. You can cut it off and whip it in a blender with water. And this auroch reduces blood sugar. It heals the pancreas. Beetroot leaf also reduces blood sugar. Beetroot increases the sugar, but beetroot leaf reduces it. You can give beetroot leaf juice. It's slightly sweet, and you can sweeten it with bananas or dates. Dates provide the kind of sugar that isn't harmful to the pancreas. Chop the dates, add the juice together with the leaves, and give it to the child. Get them used to the leaves. If the child eats lots and lots of leaves, juices with leaves, just from this practice alone, their pancreas will recover. All right, that's enough recommendations for you. Do everything and the child will get better. I've had cases when a person started to develop diabetes and I would mail these oats and flax bandages, and just this practice alone healed their pancreas. I've had many such examples when diabetes was just beginning.
How do I treat allergies?
Allergy is the second layer. It could be a lack of air and water energy, possibly solar energy as well. In any case, if, for example, the skin is severely damaged, you need to first apply oil to the child and then put them in the water. One of the 3 oils is suitable for each person. Generally, oiling the body is one of the very important practices that a person should know how to do. There are 3 oils that don't overload a person: white sesame oil, coconut oil, and ghee. One of these oils will be suitable for you. For all people, without exception, one of these 3 options works very well. How do you use the oils? If you are lying in the water and your skin is badly affected by the water, then you can apply oil, wait for half an hour, then wash it off and get into the water. Then you won't suffer from water if you have skin allergies. How can you determine which oil is suitable for you? You need to smell it. If the smell is warm, the oil is not suitable for you. When the oil is suitable for you, the smell should be light, fresh, and pleasant. If the smell is warm, unpleasant, or heavy, it is not suitable for you. If the smell is light, fresh, and pleasant, then it is suitable for you. You can determine it by smell. The lightest smell for you will be sesame oil. When a person has showered, after taking a shower, one needs to apply oil drops on the wet body and smear it all over the body. A very small amount of oil is applied to a wet body. 5 drops are enough to cover the entire body with the oil. Then you just towel off, or you can stand under the shower for a little longer and then towel off. And only the smell of the oil remains on your body. Both this oil smell and the homeopathic amount of oil brighten up the skin, reduce wrinkles, and improve the ability to have hair. I have a bald spot, but my father had no hair at all, and my maternal uncle had hardly any either. And I have more. This is all thanks to oil. Coconut oil works for me. I've been using it every day for 20 years, applying it in the morning after a shower. I used to have skin problems. My skin was sensitive, but now I don't have any issues. It's also thanks to the cleansing practices and the oil. It's very important to understand that you should start these practices gradually, carefully. The goal is to develop 2 things. First, a positive habit. You'll notice a switch turning on. You'll feel the need for water, for prolonged, continuous movement. It's not about being addicted to these practices. Your body will understand it needs them. And when you feel this need, it means your body is healing. It's asking for water because it has started the healing process. When you begin walking, standing, or sitting in water, your body will initially fear that you'll stop. And this is the most dangerous point. The riskiest thing is when you start doing everything and then suddenly stop. That would be a serious setback. Imagine if a young man tells you, "We're getting married on August 20th. And then on the 19th he calls you and says, "I changed my mind." Imagine how devastating that would feel. But even that would be easier than what happens to your body when it starts healing, and you suddenly say, "That's it, I'm stopping." And why do you stop? Because it starts aching. You feel discomfort and say, "No, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore." That's how chronic diseases develop. Then you might say, "Dr. Torsunov ruined my life. I started running, my joints began to hurt, I stopped, and now I walk with crutches." And I'm telling you, you shouldn't have been running. You should have been walking. If something aches, continue doing it, but do it properly. Incorporate water, static exercises, and walking. In 4 or 5 months, the joint that was hurting will heal. Then another one might start aching. Everything will gradually heal. Rejuvenation will begin. You want to rejuvenate, don't you? People pay money for rejuvenation practices. I'm giving you rejuvenation advice for free. You'll be able to live peacefully until 85 or 90 years old. As like Vysotsky sang, "Could it be I'm aging? Let the hangman take me. I'll pay for it." It's better to practice rejuvenation instead.
What if someone already lives to 90? What does that mean?
Some people naturally retain their energy well. They're calm, cheerful, and not easily scared. They don't really care much about anything. And that's okay too, it also depends on the climate. There are climatic zones that preserve energy. For example, Georgia is one of them. When I was there, I felt a very strong energy balance. Italy is another such zone. I went for a run in Italy, running under the heat, coming from a cold place, running in the sun and heat of Italy. I didn't feel the heat at all. 3 energy layers were cleansed by the sun instantly, and that's it. No issues. The energy in Italy is very light. You just run and feel nothing. No overload. That's why there are many long-lived people in Italy.
My husband's grandmother lived to 89 years.
Your energy isn't bad either. But you do have some issues. Here in Lithuania, naturally, the air energy is stifled. That's why people's willpower is significantly affected. It's hard for people to push themselves to do something. It's difficult to get going. There's naturally a lack of air energy here. It's harder to motivate oneself compared to other places. There are places where there's a lack of sun energy. People just keep eating constantly. And everyone is overweight. For example, in New York City in America, there's a lack of sun energy. Everyone there is overweight. Every place lacks something. But some places are energetically balanced. For example, Georgia. That's why people live to 90 or even 100 years there. By the way, are you interested in a retreat tomorrow? Who isn't interested? Raise your hand if you prefer a lecture. And who's interested in a retreat?
What's that?
First, we need to ask Lena if it's technically possible to have a loud sound here. Tomorrow I will talk about how to pray. You need to bring mats and wear clothing suitable for static exercises. Chairs are also a great option. You can sit in the diamond pose and stretch your legs through. You can also sit in the butterfly pose. Bring cushions to place between your legs, making it more comfortable to create padding. Did you hear how we repeated Hallelujah for 65 minutes yesterday? We will repeat it for 65 minutes during static exercises, and it will be louder. It creates an atmosphere of victory over destiny. For 1 hour, even if you've practiced prayer all your life, you won't have experienced anything like this. Retreats change lives. It's a very powerful practice. In 65 minutes of continuous prayer, everything will begin to open up for you. Angels will descend, destiny will be overcome, and difficulties will be resolved. Would you like to try it?
Yes.
Some people have already tried it online. Have you ever had a retreat here in Lithuania?
No, never.
Never here? Go check with Lena to see if she's okay with it. If she agrees, we'll have a retreat tomorrow. It will replace the lecture. First, we'll set the mood for prayer, then do the 65-minute retreat, and afterward, we'll discuss the experience. What happened to you? Where you traveled?
Even online?
Even online, the effect is strong, and in person, you can't imagine how powerful it is. The purification is very intense. People feel hot and cold. The impact is profound. You want to try, yes? All right, let me explain everything about cleansing the body today. Everyone, please focus. Valerie, discuss with Lena. If she agrees to the retreat, we'll organize it. That's it, you're handling it, yes? Now let me talk a little about the subtle energy body. We have 5 energy layers. Now everyone, please listen to me. 5 energy layers. The outermost energy layer is connected to how we interact with this world, our adaptation. For example, if there are blockages in this layer, it's hard for someone to get out of bed, hard to interact with people. They are affected by atmospheric pressure, weather, temperature, and location. If they move to a new place and feel they cannot live there, it's difficult. That means there are many blockages in the first layer. The second energy layer is connected to our character and health. It is associated with a person's emotions. And it's also connected to the skin, to the mucous membranes. What are mucous membranes? The mouth, trachea, intestines, stomach, and bronchi. All of this is the second layer. The mucous membranes of the vagina, the urethra in men, all part of the second layer. The eyes too. The mucous membrane of the eyes is also the second layer. Skin diseases, stomach ulcers, ulcerative colitis, intestine disease, all are related to the second layer. Polyps in the uterus, vaginal polyps, these are also the second layer. Melanomas on the skin, second layer. Emotions are affected. For example, when a person has a blockage or lacks water energy in the second layer, their emotions become hypersensitive. If there's a blockage of air energy on the second layer related to emotions, the person's reaction is delayed. For example, you tell them a joke, and they just look at you, and then laugh 5 minutes later. This means they have a blockage on the second layer. They can't react immediately. It takes time for it to register. The blockage of air energy prevents them from reacting right away. They take time to get into the flow of things. For example, in Estonia, energetically, there is a blockage of dynamic tension on the second layer. That's why people there take time to emotionally engage. For instance, I was told a joke in Estonia, An Estonian is riding a handcar along the railroad tracks, and another person stops him asking, "Is Tallinn far?" The Estonian replies, "Not far." The man asks, "Can I hop on?" The Estonian says, "Hop on." They ride for another hour. The man asks, "Is Tallinn far?" The Estonian replies, "Now it's far." That's a blockage of dynamic tension on the second layer. People engage slowly. A blockage of sun energy on the second layer results in negative emotions. They say, "Everything is bad here, Dr. Torsunov. Everything is bad." This indicates a blockage of sun energy on the second layer. Are you finding this difficult? There's going to be a lot of information coming up. The third energy layer is connected to a person's thoughts. We think using the third energy layer. Since most people work primarily with their thoughts, the third layer is the most strained. I can share many interesting things about retreat. It significantly transforms lives. There was one man who had never attended a retreat. He came for the first time and he did everything. His mother, who had cancer, was bedridden. She couldn't stand, eat, or drink. He prayed for her during one retreat. On that very day, she got up and started eating. Can you imagine? This is how it actually works. Another woman's husband left her. This was in Moscow. She prayed for their family. The retreat had just ended and she got a phone call. I said, "You can't talk on the phone here." But her husband had called her. She stepped out of the hall, they talked, and they reconciled. This is a very serious practice. In another case, a man prayed and they decided not to send him to prison. He received a call informing him that they had changed their mind about imprisoning him. This is the truth. I'm telling you exactly what happened. I'll explain to you how this works, how to overcome fate. But for now, I'll continue discussing how to detoxify the body. I also want to tell you that about a year from now, we'll be launching a powerful educational program on detoxifying the body, consisting of approximately 50 lessons. First, we'll thoroughly cover the theory, and then it will all be presented in the form of instructional videos. We'll begin with theory and then work practically with each individual. Afterward, if you're interested, you can complete the final course, become specialists, and teach others. We'll even give you the opportunity to do so. I'm not sure how this will operate in Europe, but you'll receive authorization from us. At least in Russia, it will be fully recognized. Oh, and while you're all here, I want to make an announcement. I have a young, very talented assistant here who is available for consultations. Raise your hand if you enjoyed his consultations. You've already attended. He is organizing a pilgrimage to Częstochowa. This is a holy site in Poland, and it's an extraordinary pilgrimage because you will need to walk 200 kilometers on foot. Each day, you will need to walk enough to cover 5 energy layers. He incorporates all my practices. Every day there will be lectures. You'll engage in conversations daily, and together you'll walk and visit sacred places. It's essentially a pilgrimage through holy sites. This is a very powerful cleansing practice when a person walks, thinks about God, and dedicates their energy to Him. You can approach him about this.
How many kilometers do you need to walk each day?
Each day covering 5 energy layers means walking 20 kilometers. This is being organized by my assistant, Igor. He's a very talented and an overall wonderful person. Many people already admire him and attend his lectures. He also delivers lectures himself. He's a rising star. Now moving on, the third energy layer is connected to thoughts. We think at this level, focusing our attention and our ability to work and think. If a person lacks water energy at the third energy layer, they become easily offended and angry in their thoughts. They cannot tolerate the ideas of others. If someone says something, it immediately disturbs them. This lack of water energy makes a person very sensitive and irritable. A lack of air energy or a blockage in air energy makes thoughts very constrained. Such a person finds it hard to think, concentrate, remember things, reason, or study. When there is a lack of sun energy, thoughts become negative and depressive. A person thinks poorly about everything. They feel like everything is bad and nothing good will happen. You have a blockage on the third layer connected to your thoughts. It's directed at your mother-in-law. This interaction depletes the third energy layer, intensifying the blockage. As a result, you have very negative, pessimistic thoughts. This blockage is forming on the third layer. The third layer is connected to blood vessels, the heart, and the uterus in women, and the urethra in men. For example, prostate issues or uterine cancer are related to the third layer. Small joints, starting from the knees and below, as well as those in the hands from the elbows and below, are governed by the third layer. The third layer also includes the muscles of the eyes and all the muscles in the body. So all the muscles of the organs are also related to the third layer. This is why vascular diseases, joint problems, and hypertension are connected to the third layer. Polyarthritis is also part of the third layer. Sciatica, where the muscles around the spine become compressed, is also part of the third layer. Understand? These issues are all related to work. That's why people in middle age mostly die from cardiovascular diseases. They don't take breaks from thinking, overworking their minds without relaxing or unwinding. The fourth energy layer is connected to one's mood, or one's attitude. For example, whether you feel like going to work or not. I want ice cream, I don't want ice cream, this sort of mood. I want to go to the theater, I don't want to go to the theater. Good mood, bad mood. When there's a lack of water energy, a person's mood changes suddenly. Their sensitivity is very strong. First, they feel one way, then something influences them, and their mood shifts completely. When there's a lack of air energy, the person's mood becomes repressed. You ask them, how's your mood? And they respond, I don't have a mood. I don't know how I feel. They can't identify their mood. You ask, do you feel like working? I don't know. Do you want to go to the movies? I don't know. They are in no mood because everything is repressed. There's no sense of desire, no direction for their life. What should I do with my life? I don't know. When there's a lack of sun energy on the fourth layer, the person feels depressed. The word depression is about mood. There's no happiness in life, everything seems bad. That's depression. How's your mood? Bad. Let's listen to a song about the lack of sun energy on the fourth energy layer. Would you like to hear the song? Let's take a little break, there's been a lot of information. The blockage from the lack of sun energy on the fourth layer, that's where the sadness came from. I'm explaining, but the person doesn't understand. The fourth energy layer is connected to many processes in the body. It's designed so that there are no external processes, only contact with the world. Next come the internal mucous membranes, the skin, then muscles, blood vessels, and beyond that, the fourth layer. This includes all internal organs, the thyroid, liver, lungs, pancreas, kidneys, and spleen. In women, the ovaries are also part of the fourth layer. The fourth layer includes the lens of the eye. It also includes all brain tissues, the entire spine, large joints like the hips and shoulders, all skull joints, and all bones in the body. That's the fourth layer. The fifth layer is connected to very deep mental functions of a person. It is the most mysterious energy layer and is tied to our perception of the world. When talking about despair, when there is despair in the heart, that's the fifth layer, when a person truly experiences despair. If we're talking about deep fear or the feeling of impossibility to act, that's the fifth layer. If we're talking about disappointment in life, when people take their own lives, that's the fifth layer. For psychiatric disorders, it's always the fifth layer. All fears in life, like the fear of heights, fear of marriage, fear for children, or fear of enclosed spaces, those are all the fifth layer. The fifth layer is connected to the entire nervous system. The brain membranes are the fourth layer, but the nervous tissues themselves are the fifth layer. The spinal cord is also part of the fifth layer. All nerve endings are part of the fifth layer. All hormonal functions in the body, the work of hormones themselves, adrenal glands, pituitary gland, hypothalamus, thalamus, and hormones responsible for regulating women's and men's health, everything is connected to the fifth layer. Infertility is the fifth layer. Mental illnesses are the fifth layer. Autism, cerebral palsy, these are the fifth layer. Bad habits are also related to the fifth layer. A lack of water energy manifests as alcoholism. A lack of air energy leads to smoking, coffee addiction, or gambling. A lack of sun energy results in drug abuse, promiscuity, and gambling in casinos. It's interesting to note that the first energy layer connects us to this world. The fifth energy layer connects us to the afterlife and to our past lives. When a person leaves life in a very bad state, they are born with blockages on the fifth layer. This explains cerebral palsy, autism in young children, and childhood mental illnesses. It indicates that the person left their previous life in a very poor state, immediately creating blockages on the fifth layer. The fifth layer connects a person to their past lives. It's very important how a person passes away. A doctor enters the ICU and asks, "Where is Mr. Jonas? He passed away." Did he sweat while passing? He did? Good. This is a medical joke. Not everyone will get it. Sometimes people die in fear from severe pain or with hatred or anger towards someone. There are also cases of unexpected violent deaths. People are killed, thrown from heights, blown up by grenades, or involved in accidents. It's important to understand one thing. Life does not end after death. When a person passes away, they enter their subtle energy body and within about 2 hours begin to perceive themselves in it. This is where problems begin. Especially if the person was young, they feel deep disappointment. The parents of one young woman told me that during her honeymoon, she was lying in a car that was speeding and crashed at high speed. She had a skull base fracture, instant death. Afterwards, she would visit her mother in her subtle energy body for several months and cry. The parents, very wealthy people, came to me and said, "What do we do? We don't know what to do." I said, "Pray." They replied, "We don't know how to pray." I said, "Then you need to make a significant offering and feed a large number of people." They reached out to the Vaishnavas, who created a 3-ton cake. They placed it in 3 railway stations in Moscow, Kazan, Yaroslavl, and Leningrad, set up in the squares, cordoned off everything. The people at the stations were served drinks and cake. The next day, the daughter came back happy and said, "Mommy, thank you, I'm leaving now. Since I am connected to these practices, I see people after death, I see how they pass away. A couple of months ago, my mother-in-law passed away. I accompanied her all the way until the end.
My mother passed away in 14 days, in my arms. I want to know, has she reincarnated as a child?
Everyone reincarnates. What was your mother's name?
Teresa.
Did she practice spirituality?
No, I just prayed for her.
Your mother was supposed to go to hell, but she didn't. She didn't go to hell, she will reincarnate on Earth. On an earthly level, not necessarily on this planet, but on a planet of an earthly type. When did this happen? When did she pass away?
On the 14th of April, 2021.
In 2021?
Yes.
She's already been reborn. This happens within 40-50 days. A person enters the mother's womb within that time frame. If they don't go to hell, it's usually within 40-50 days.
Why didn't she go to hell?
That's it, my dear. Please sit down. You prayed for her, and that's enough. Don't interrupt the lecture. Let me share something else with you. There are only 3 types of illnesses. Do you know where all illnesses come from? Every person, based on their destiny, always has 4 blockages of each type of energy on these 5 layers. 4 blockages of water energy, 4 blockages of air energy, and 4 blockages of sun energy. These are not fully developed blockages, but predispositions. Each person is born with them, and from childhood you can map out their predispositions to these blockages. This map includes various scenarios. If all predispositions are distributed in such a way that they don't overlap, then there won't be chronic illnesses. But if even 2 blockages are close to or slightly overlap, this creates a predisposition to chronic illnesses. There are only 3 main scenarios. The most common scenario is when the blockages of water and air energy almost overlap. This leads to relatively mild illnesses that can be quickly cured. For example, getting bronchitis and recovering from it. Skin allergies, gone. Allergies of various kinds, bronchitis, increased blood pressure, or inflammatory processes in different organs. All of these are related to the energies of air and water. These blockages manifest the quickest because water energy depletes the fastest, followed by air energy. That's why these blockages quickly lead to illnesses, but they can be resolved quickly if a person lives correctly. The next set of blockages develops more slowly and is harder to cure. This occurs when there's a lack of water and sun energy. A deficiency in sun energy is always critical. Because the sun governs overall health, its depletion occurs gradually, but recovery takes a long time. When there's a deficiency of water and sun energy, it leads to severe inflammatory processes that are difficult to treat, such as diabetes, bronchial asthma, or stomach ulcers. All skin diseases, such as eczema, are caused by a lack of water and sun energy. A lack of water and sun energy also leads to chronic, hard-to-treat joint diseases accompanied by severe inflammation. These conditions are difficult to manage. The third type of illness is even worse. It arises from a lack of air and sun energy. These diseases develop very slowly but take a long time to cure. A deficiency in air and sun energy leads to degenerative tissue diseases. For example, osteoarthritis, where the structure of a joint changes. This always stems from a lack of air and sun energy. Another example is when a spinal disc herniates. This is also due to a lack of air and sun energy. Polyps begin to grow in various areas. Moles, warts, and polyps are always caused by a lack of air and sun energy. The blockages are interconnected. For example, polyps result from a lack of air and sun energy on the second layer. This manifests as growths on the skin or in the mucous membrane of the uterus, such as cervical dysplasia in women. Cervical dysplasia is a second-layer issue caused by a lack of air and sun energy. A lack of air and sun energy also leads to obesity. Excess weight is directly related to a deficiency in these energies. This deficiency contributes to both benign and malignant tumors. So if a person's subtle body shows a combined deficiency of air and sun energy, I tell them there is a risk of developing malignant tumors. Atherosclerosis is also caused by a lack of air and sun energy on the third layer. The blood vessels become clogged with cholesterol. What is cancer treatment? It involves prolonged movement and fasting. When a person replenishes their air and sun energy, their predisposition to tumors disappears. A lack of air energy is caused by physical inactivity. A lack of sun energy results from eating meat, consuming heavy meals after 6 p.m., depression, and life dissatisfaction. All of this contributes to cancer. If a person is inactive, eats meat, and feels disillusioned with life, they are inviting cancer. And if they overeat at night, it's a done deal. That's it. Cancer is almost inevitable. Remember this, the safest combination is air and water energy. Schizophrenia is also a combination of air and water energy, but on the fifth layer. Epilepsy is a combination of air and sun energy. It is very difficult to treat. Schizophrenia is easier to treat than epilepsy. This is because you can't make a child fast for 60 hours. To cleanse the first layer of a sun energy deficiency, it takes 12 hours of fasting. 24 hours cleanses 2 layers. 36 hours cleanses 3 layers. Yesterday I fasted for 36 hours and cleared 3 layers. Igor, my assistant, fasted for 60 hours and cleared 5 energy layers. 5 layers is the maximum needed. There's no point in fasting beyond 60 hours. The cleansing process starts anew and simply overloads the body.
And you didn't eat anything?
I drank water, but he didn't eat or drink anything. There are 2 types of fasting that deeply cleanse the subtle body: water fasting and dry fasting. Dry fasting is harder. Sun energy enters the body and you don't cool off. He's a young guy, so he can handle it. I'm older, so I need to approach this carefully.
What about fasting on buckwheat?
Eating buckwheat is good, but it doesn't cleanse the subtle energy body. There are different types of fasting. Let me explain if you're interested. But these aren't related to the subtle energy body at all. They're related to the physical body. Fasting on fruits gives a person optimism and helps treat depression. It raises udana, the mental energy. If someone fasts on greens, that's the best fasting on earth. It's meant for cleansing both the physical and the subtle energy body. Fasting on greens balances all the doshas, rejuvenates a person, and heals the subtle body. This is the best fasting. Fasting on greens means blending lettuce or spinach into a juice and drinking it. No salt, no additives. You can add a little salt if needed. You drink this single blended juice, and that's it.
What about fasting on fermented milk?
That's not a green fasting anymore. It helps heal the physical body, but not the subtle energy body. Fasting on berries improves metabolism. If the berries grow on trees, it also boosts optimism because they work like fruits. Berries that grow on plants help treat metabolic issues. Fasting on sprouted grains increases a person's energy, provides vitamins, and strengthens their immunity. It helps the body combat serious illnesses and activates its defense mechanisms. Fasting on non-grain cereals stabilizes the body and reduces inflammatory processes. This is fasting on buckwheat, fasting on quinoa, fasting on millet, and fasting on amaranth grain. It gives stability to a person, removes inflammation, stabilizes, calms, and relaxes. Fasting on vegetables, for example on zucchini, reduces tension, improves sleep, reduces internal tension. Fasting on milk is a dangerous thing, intended for those who have been practicing fasting for a long time. This fasting can cure infertility, but it needs to be approached very carefully. It's best to dilute the milk. Fasting on milk improves feminine qualities. It's good for women who have been practicing fasting for a long time. Fasting on milk will do no good unless a person is in pure goodness. Fasting on lean meat is a death sentence in China. When a person is given only meat, they die after 40 days. Water fasting heals the subtle energy body. It's the best type of fasting. What else would you like to know?
Fasting for the liver.
The liver is in the 4th energy layer. Gallbladder is in the 3rd energy layer. Bile ducts are in the 2nd energy layer. But everything depends on the illness. If it's hepatitis, it's air and water. If you have liver cirrhosis, it's air and sun. If you have bile duct dysfunction, it's in the 3rd energy layer, not the 4th energy layer. It's not a liver disease. It's a different illness. Varicose veins mean a lack of air and sun energy in the 3rd energy layer when veins expand. Hemorrhoids are also in the 3rd energy layer. It's caused by lack of air and sun energy.
What about headaches?
Headaches are on the 3rd energy layer. They mean a lack of water and air energy.
How are days of the week connected with fasting?
Days of the week are connected with planets. Monday is connected with personal life. Water fasting on Monday heals when a person doesn't have a family or has relationship problems. Monday water fasting heals relationships. On Tuesday, a person's willpower functions are healed. If they can't work or feel they have no strength to live, then they should do water fasting on Tuesdays. If business isn't going well, sales are down, relationships with friends are suffering, and you generally don't like people, then fast on Wednesday. If your spiritual practice is suffering, fast on Thursday. If you're suffering from hormonal issues, infertility, lack of life motivation, lack of femininity, or if men are too angry, then fast on Friday. If you lack beauty, have immunity problems, don't have proper self-esteem, or you're an irresponsible person, then fast on Sunday. And if you've found all of these issues in yourself, then fast on Saturday. Saturday fasting is meant for a difficult fate, when everything is really bad, when you're going to jail, when tax authorities decide to come, when your husband is violent, when there's infidelity, debauchery, when there's alcoholism, betrayal, when you're being deprived of property, then fast on Saturday.
What about when there's ringing in the head?
This is probably your ear. You might have inner ear problems. This requires prolonged continuous movement and fasting. It's either the fourth or fifth energy layer. If it's the bone system of the inner ear that's affected, then it's the fourth layer. If it's the nervous system, then it's the fifth layer. This is a difficult condition to treat. For example, if you have varicose veins and you're afraid to walk, don't be afraid of anything. Start sitting in water, do static exercises according to the methodical guide. Download it and do as written. First, work with the energy of water. Your veins will become softer and stop hurting. Then start walking. Do prolonged, continuous movement. If you have joint problems, use an elliptical machine. Do you know what an elliptical machine is? Their joints are minimally stressed and ankle joints barely work at all. Even if a person has one paralyzed leg, you rotate both arms and one leg, and the other leg rotates by itself. So prolonged continuous movement can be done even on an elliptical machine. How to replace any exercise with long walking or running, so you know the cleansing speed. For example, skiing or using a stationary bike. For this, you still need to walk to cleanse one energy layer, and use a watch that shows pulse, distance, and time. For example, you walked 4.5 kilometers in 48 minutes, that's one energy layer, while walking your pulse was 110. Now you get on the elliptical machine and maintain a pulse of 110, and in 48 minutes, one energy layer will be cleansed. But you don't know the distance because you're running in place or on a stationary bike. You just maintain the same average pulse as during walking, and you know what cleansing speed you'll get with what pulse rate. But when you have a watch, it will automatically calculate this. And first you'll walk several times, and the watch will mark what distance corresponds to what pulse rate, at what speed you run or walk, cleansing one energy layer. And when you exercise, do bends, squats, it always shows your cleansing speed, but not through distance anymore, but through pulse rate. Let's say you have joint problems, you stay in water, do static exercises until the pain becomes less intense. It might take several months, 2 or 3 months. As soon as the pain subsides, start moving gradually. You need to reach 3 energy layers. If you exercise on the elliptical machine, then move slowly. You'll need to move carefully and slowly for 3 hours, and your joints will start healing. After 6 months, the joints will almost stop hurting. Don't run fast, don't walk intensely, just cleanse gradually. Don't practice intense movement, and the joints will be fine. If you have varicose veins, also start with static exercises. If you're standing and feel your veins tensing up, then don't stand. Sit in the butterfly pose and stay in it. Veins will be fine. You should stay in water and practice the butterfly pose to cleanse at least 3 energy layers, because varicose veins are in the 3rd energy layer. Then start walking, cleansing 3 layers. When your body calms down and veins get better, start walking for 3 layers. Your veins will begin to heal. But if you want to completely cure varicose veins, then you'll need to fast for 3 layers, because varicose veins are caused by lack of air and sun energy. Raise your hand if you think you'll never be able to fast. Good, a man raised his hand. I'll now tell you and everyone else about a certain practice, because I also didn't want to fast, and I was up for anything except fasting. You go to a spa center and stay in water cleansing 5 energy layers. Then you go to the steam room, and it's very important to choose the right temperature there. You need to have a thermometer and humidity meter with you. They sell a 2-in-1 thermometer and humidity meter for saunas. They are meant specifically for this purpose, and you need to place it right where you are. Because the humidity temperature varies greatly depending on the room height. You place it next to you and then leave. You place it where you intend to lie and leave. Then come back in 5 minutes when the temperature and humidity have stabilized. The sum of temperature and humidity should be 110. When the sum of temperature and humidity is 110, it's a very gentle cleansing. It takes 11 minutes to cleanse 1 energy layer, and you won't even feel any overload. When the sum is 110, it means, for example, 70-degree temperature and 40 humidity, or 60 temperature, 50 humidity, or 80 temperature, 30 humidity. When the sum of temperature and humidity is 110, it takes 11 minutes per energy layer. If the sum is 100, then it's 12 minutes per energy layer. The cleansing will be even slower, and the gentler it is, the better. First, stay in the water for 5 layers, preferably in cold water. The colder the water, the easier it is to stay in the sauna. You'll feel cold. If it's 22-degree water, you should stay there for 38 minutes, freezing, shivering, but don't worry, it's fine. Then you go into the sauna and lie down. Sitting is forbidden. Lie down because when sitting, your head and feet are at different temperature zones, causing tension and making everything worse. Lie down in the sauna. Lie down. You can lie on your stomach, back or side, whichever you prefer. Accordingly, start with 33 minutes. That's 3 energy layers. Because it takes 2 energy layers for a person just to warm up after being in water. If you cleansed 5 energy layers in water, you'll only start warming up after 2 layers, after 22 minutes. Old people start warming up on the 3rd energy layer if they were in water for 5 layers. For 22 minutes, it will seem very cold in the sauna. Don't take it seriously. The sauna is deceiving you. Only after 22 minutes, if the sum is 110, will the 3rd layer start warming up. Start with cleansing 3 layers, which takes 33 minutes, and after that, get out and stay in water for 1 layer. Do this practice once a week, and after 3 months, you can move to 4 layers, 44 minutes, and after another 3 months to 5 layers. When you're cleansing in the sauna and you have an energetic blockage, a blockage can be in the physical body and in the subtle energy body. Blockages in the physical body, meaning blockages connected to the physical body. All blockages are in the subtle energy body, but some are connected to the physical body, while others to the subtle energy body. And in the sauna, blockages connected to the physical body are removed. This means that you can lose weight with the help of a sauna, you can reduce the likelihood of oncological diseases, and you can treat varicose veins using sauna instead of fasting. This also makes it easier to fast in the future. Because you've cleansed the energy of the sun in the sauna, and it will be easier to fast later. But you should know that dry steam treats both air and sun energy simultaneously. And for example, when a person suffers from epilepsy, dry steam is best as it treats both air and sun energy, while wet steam treats water and sun energy. A hot bath does the same thing. If the hot bath is 41 degrees, that's an acceptable temperature. Higher is not allowed, it's very dangerous. It's best to lie in 40-degree water. When it's 40 degrees, the cleansing takes approximately 8.5 minutes per energy layer. In hot water, cleansing happens faster than in the sauna. The load on the body is greater. At 40 degrees, cleansing takes 42 minutes, and if it's 42 degrees, then it's about 35 minutes. 35 minutes. This is already quite a significant load. Therefore, cleansing in a hot bath is less effective than in a sauna or hammam. In a hammam, 38 degree temperature is best. 40 degrees is already for trained people. At 38 degrees, it takes 50 minutes to cleanse 5 layers. Did you like this material?
What about ultraviolet?
Better not to use ultraviolet, it's not needed. I haven't studied it yet, but I feel that it's not very good for health. The most beneficial is a wood-fired sauna, coal-fired sauna. Wood-fired sauna is very beneficial. Electric heating is already worse. And all these modern infrared ones, it's better to stay away from them completely. Salt, as I told you, only treats dynamic tension but doesn't treat toxins. While sauna treats both toxins and dynamic tension, salt only treats dynamic tension and doesn't affect toxins. This is good for autistic children.
What about the amber sauna?
Amber sauna is fine. It works like a regular sauna. Amber just really relaxes a person. It's good for the nervous system, good for resting there. It's good for relieving tension.
Is this fasting needed once a week?
If it's 24-hour fasting, do it once a week, 36 hours once every 2 weeks, 48 hours once every 3 weeks, 60 hours once a month.
Here they make stone carpets.
What kind of carpets? Tourmaline? Made of stone?
Stone ones. Carpets made of stone, and you can heat up on them at 70 degrees.
There are many things. There are, for example, cold rooms. It's just dry cold there and minus temperatures. I haven't developed this method yet. When I was in Kazakhstan, there was no place to stay in cold water. Water there was too warm for me. It was 28 degrees, which wasn't effective for me. I went outside, it was minus 20, and I started cleansing with prana and cold. I stood for 20 minutes cleansing 5 layers, wearing only swimming trunks, mittens, and a hat. At minus 20, I cleansed 5 layers, but I haven't researched other temperatures yet. We can study it. Later, we'll also be able to cleanse with cold at specific times. You can already cleanse prana with sub-zero temperatures. It's not water cleansing, it's air energy cleansing. You're charging your body with prana from the air. On snow, I verified it takes 7 minutes to cleanse 5 layers if lying on snow. Though it's water, it cleanses prana. It's not water anymore, it's air. They've invented many things now. I haven't researched everything yet. What concerns water, we have charts. You can stay in freezing water for 4.5 minutes. If the water temperature is below 4.5 degrees, it always takes 4.5 minutes. The body doesn't care anymore. It doesn't distinguish. Everything feels the same after that.
What about standing on nails?
What?
Standing on nails?
This is not a cleansing practice, but a stimulating one. It just increases life force. Thank you very much. I wish you peace, happiness, health, and all the best in your life. I'm very grateful that you attended this lecture. Now we have gifts. Come up here. To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much, and see you soon.